fucking mic.
Bow. Ah, it says upcoming. Not quite there yet.
We should
Upcoming.
be live now, I'm guessing, based on the timing.
We
Maybe.
say we should be live.
There we are.
All right, can you all talk?
Yeah?
Yeah.
I can hear ourselves through
Yeah,
it.
yeah. It's up. Seems good
I'm waiting for
to
Sweeney to
me.
speak.
I am
All right, yeah, we're all
speaking.
good. Yep, we're all good. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, cool. All right, let's get going. All right, I guess I'm pressing the button so it's a little bit easier to arrange this shit. All right, we'll start recording in 3, 2... Oh, wait, maybe I should move this across because I'm looking over to the other side. Just give me a second, man. Haven't hosted for a while.
I'm the only pleb with a single monitor. Do both of you have dual monitors?
Yeah, I always have dual monitors.
Oh, wow. I'm the only pleb with just a single monitor.
Correct, you are.
I like single monitors. Focus.
Oh, yeah, you're known for your focus. That's right.
100%.
I had to unmute to laugh for that one.
Your focus. You're the most focused person I know. That's right. Fuck, I'm gonna reset.
Squirrel. It's a squirrel.
Fuck it out.
And I like you've probably got about 10 monitors sitting next to you or something.
That's true. It's just not plugged in. That's right. And you know what? It genuinely would be like 6 or 7 monitors that he has in his house. It's awesome. All right, let's start in 3, 2. Welcome to the Big Week in Gaming podcast. And what do you know? It's been a big week in gaming. I'm Intergot for episode 109 on this Sunday, the 18th of December 2022. In this week's show, Christmas comes early as Nintendo drops a bountiful bombshell bonanza, impressions of Justin Roiland's quirky FPS adventure High on Life, and we finally take the time to rank our personal top 10 games of all time. If you'd like to support the show, we'd love you to subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. If you're a mega fan, come join us on the Discord. All the links in the description below or at bigwigpod.com. We've got our senior editor-in-chief, Swinny.
Hey yo.
And Mike.
Hello, everyone. Good
Why don't
to see you again.
We don't have anything for you, Mike. Any descriptor for you? Yeah,
I'm just Mike now. Well, did you get my thing that you were supposed to overlay over Mike? My true identity?
It's called the douche button.
The douche button.
In an emergency, I can press the douche button. We haven't tested this, so let's just see if it works.
Yeah, it works.
And
you should probably just leave it there permanently.
Now, can I tell a story for all of our viewers that Mike is such a douche that when he sent me this file, I go, just send me a transparent PNG, right?
Well,
and then
he
sent, no. I said, well, what do you think, right? How am I supposed to overlay it? So he sends it to me, and it's just a white block with a cross and big douche on it. And I'm like, how am I meant to use that? I needed to do extra work.
I didn't realize it didn't have transparency
in line with
on
his douchiness.
No, but then I sent you the transparent.
Yeah, I already
after,
done it.
When I realized I screwed it up.
I don't have time to muck around double tap
You
things.
actually untransparented it?
Yeah, I had to edit it myself.
No, what you should have done is kept it just the white
That's the
block and
douche.
just put the block over his face. You know, that would have probably
Let's move it down to
Yeah, I should have just put it
on my
as is.
forehead.
I should have done it as is, just like
big L in my head.
over the whole top.
Intergot, thank you for stepping back into the hosting duties this week. I am a bit sick, so the executive decision was made to hand over the duties to someone else this week. And I tell you what, you haven't missed a step.
And I like how Mike is not in consideration.
Hey,
no.
I actually suggested Mike, and you took it. You took
Did
it
I?
before
Did
he
he?
could answer.
Well,
yeah.
I just assumed
I
he
actually
would.
said, "Hey," I was responding to Mike because, "Hey, you wouldn't mind hosting?" And Indigo, you go, "I'll host."
Oh, okay. Well, it's also I was thinking Mike might not be able to make it on time, just as a guess. So
Which actually turned out to be true, but yes.
yeah, only by 20 minutes. That's all right.
Unintended reasons.
So no hype, no community stuff, no corrections. We haven't had a lot of corrections recently, Sweeney.
We haven't
been on
made a
a
lot
good
of
run.
mistakes.
Either that or we
that's
just
true.
don't care anymore. But yeah.
No, we do care. We do care. We do respond.
You know what? I think it's also I tended to pick up on more of the mistakes because when we were doing the clips on YouTube, I used to see them and probably pick up on more stuff. Just watching watch this 5-minute thing of that clip we did, and it's like, oh shit.
So we could actually be having mistakes, and we're not even.
We could be having
lots and lots and lots.
Bring back the clips,
just
man. We're in trouble.
Sweeping them under the
You got
rug.
a big mistake right here.
But
almost.
But I do have a question of the week.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
And it's not the greatest question, but I'll be interested to see the answers from you two. So, let's say, in order to save your life, you have to beat Dark Souls, right?
Okay,
And I know you both done it. But let's say you put in a room and you have to beat Dark Souls, but you have to choose one of 3 controllers to beat Dark Souls with.
Okay.
The 3 controllers are. And then, look, people have done these all. I think they've done.
Wait.
They've done at least 2 of. They've done at least 2 of them. I don't know if one of them.
Is this an original question from you?
Yeah, I'll just come up with
This
it.
is a great question.
Yeah.
This is a great question. I know where you're going with this.
Okay, the famous
I love
one you've got to beat. One of the controller options is the Donkey Kong bongos, right?
Yeah.
Oh god. Okay.
The next one is Dance Dance Revolution Dance Pad, and let's say you would have like one of the ones from the arcade where you can actually hold on to the bar. Let's say they've got that there, right? Not like a shitty like home pad. And the last one is the NES Power Glove.
Oh.
Which controller do you choose to beat Dark Souls?
And your life is on the line. Your life is on
I
the
don't know
line.
why you keep asking me questions that are basically loopholes in me not having to kill myself, but a great way to end it all. Why do you keep asking these questions? They're so good.
I can confirm people have definitely beaten Dark Souls, a lot of people, with those first 2 types.
Yes.
I think the NES Power Glove, I don't think I've seen that. And I actually watched, did inspire me was I was watching a video about a guy who was trying to break the Guinness World Record for beating Dark Souls with the most amount of different controller types.
Okay.
And the NES, he mentioned the NES Power Glove, like, he's not a programmer, so that was his limitation, so he couldn't, like, program the interface himself.
Yeah.
That's why the NES Power Glove was kind of off the thing.
No
But
drums.
let's say they've figured that out, right?
I reckon the Power Glove. I would pick the Power Glove.
Okay. So
But I don't know
we're showing
exactly
it
how
on
the Power
screen.
Glove
We've
works.
got the Power Glove on screen.
Yep.
So you can see right here that you've got a D-pad, you've got your BA, everything like that.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to ask questions, Swinny?
Go ahead.
Now, with the Power Glove, I never had a Power Glove. I don't believe I've ever seen one in person, right? And if I have, I've forgotten about it. It might not have come out in Australia, right? Do you know if it came out in Australia? And now I'm going into this rabbit hole.
It wouldn't surprise me if it was actually out in Australia, just because it was so popular in terms of the hype for it. It was a horrible controller, but
So how does it work exactly?
Now,
I mean, other than
my
the
question
obvious.
is, Swinny, on this one is, this wasn't made by Nintendo, right?
No.
Now, this is the risk, Mike. This is the risk, in my opinion. This is not a D-pad made by Nintendo, right? It's like fairly finicky, and they want to make good money on this, right? And third-party controllers have always been, almost to this day, terrible, right? Outside of the ones where you pay heaps extra. I worry that the actual inputs that you make are so finicky, and you have misfires, and the D-pad doesn't work properly. I think this is, to me, almost the worst controller.
Maybe. I don't know. I
This
still
is-
feel
this
like
is where
having
I'm
the
coming
tactile thing in your hand. I'm much better with my
You have to
hands
wear
than
it
I'm
as a
with my
Power Glove, though.
feet.
You have to wear it as a Power Glove.
Yeah. But I feel like I'm way more coordinated with my hands than my feet. So that's automatically an advantage to the Power Glove.
Now-
My feet are horrible. I can't even play the Dance Dance game, let alone trying to beat Dark Souls with that thing.
Now, Swinny, we both
How does
know
this work?
I'm a beast on the bongos. I'm a beast on the bongos.
But how do you
I
control
crushed
it?
the
Like,
bongos.
what's
Whenever
the
I played
mapping?
this-
so when they set up, I don't know the exact mechanic behind it, but you're able to like tap the side to get a different input than like on the top. So like
Clap.
left
You can
tap,
clap. That's a different
Yeah,
input, right?
clap,
Wow.
and things like that. People have managed to do it with the bongos. So let's say they've hooked it up the same way those people have been able to do it.
Yeah.
So
Now, what
well,
I'll
I
say
guess
is
I'm dead
this
then.
was made by Nintendo, Mike.
So it's more reliable, you reckon?
I reckon, like, I've used this, right? It's super precise. Like, the inputs are tight. Like, this is all timing-based games. it's never the controller's fault.
Okay.
Now,
Yep.
I at a minimum are picking this over this because I need precision. I don't know about how many inputs I've got here, right? And then with this one, DDR pad. Now, the question I have, Swinny, is it 2? Like the classic arcade style?
I'm trying to
Or is
remember
it
what
1?
people. I'm trying to remember what people generally do it with. Let's say you've got 2. Let's say it's a pair of the pads.
Okay.
Now, I got to be real. I think it's like I would. So you got the 2 pads, and then obviously because you got to build an interface, right?
Yeah.
You can kind of set it up how you want. I think, Mike, I'm picking the pads. I think you've got more input options. These things are really accurate as well because it's all timing based, so they need to make sure that they work, or else people get really frustrated. I'm going with the pads. DDR to save my life.
So there's some of the people I'm looking.
I like how
YouTube,
this is a photoshopped image, by the way.
Yeah, no.
Some of the
This is
all the
awesome.
videos I'm seeing generally have 1 pad that people are playing Dark Souls
One
with the
pad,
DDR.
jeez.
Yeah.
So wait, is the question 1 pad
It'd be
then?
hard with 2.
So let's change it to 1 because that seems to be the common way to
one,
do
two,
it from
three,
I'm
what I
sticking
can
with the
see.
glove. I'm sticking with the glove. I feel like the problem is I don't know exactly how the glove works. Other than the buttons on it, what else does it do?
Well, you can program it. You can squeeze your hand and it does something, I remember.
Okay, cool.
But I don't think
So
you
that could
need
be
to
an
do that.
attack.
But you've got your
Does it
D-pad.
register movements or anything like that?
No, not like that.
Well, there's tons of. Oh, you're talking about. Sorry, I thought you were talking
Power
about
the
the
power
DDR
glove
pad.
he's talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how the power glove works, but it is, as Indigot was saying, it is wildly inaccurate.
Okay.
in
Yeah, I think the
inputs and
power
stuff.
glove is
Well, then
like
I would
clearly
just
the
go for
worst.
like a Havel build. Just tank it all. Slow rolls everything.
iron
Just take all the
flesh.
hits.
All right,
whack
this is a
away
good
wherever.
question. So, Mike, you've gone for the power glove.
I'm going
and
with the
I've
power glove,
gone DDR, and I would definitely
I'm
go
gonna be
Donkey,
dead, won't I?
Donkey Konga, like bongos, as my second pick. This is like by far the last.
Nice.
How about you, Swinny? What would you pick?
I think that the DDR pad as well.
Yeah.
But I think fitness level is a big factor.
That's true. Hey,
I'll
no,
die
think about
before
it.
I'll die.
No, you're thinking about it all the wrong way. You could actually save your life and renew your
And
life.
get fit. Ah.
You come out of the room fucking beefcake Swinny.
There's no
That'd be
time
awesome.
constraint in this, right? I could be
Well,
doing
that's
that
the
for the
thing.
next 10 years.
I think it depends on if they did put a time constraint, but I didn't add a time constraint to the question. No,
That is
so,
good. I like that.
yeah.
I like that. All right, let's move into the games that we've been playing. I'll start with me. So there's been quite a few games I've clocked this week, but I can't talk about
Nice.
them because they sort of they give away a bit of the top 10. You know, this mysterious top 10 that we're all doing, counting from 10 to 1. A bit of hype for a couple of segments away.
Beaten all 10.
I've actually beaten like 3 or 4 games, 100%, right?
Wow.
And I've also been playing, I guess this will give it away that this won't be on the list, given what I just said. Castlevania Circle of the Moon. Man, the Castlevania Advance series. Hey, you haven't played, have you played these, Mike?
No,
Damn,
a
you
little
gotta
bit of
play
some of
them,
the
man.
advanced stuff, but yeah, I feel like they're right up my alley, right?
It always offends me when you were said to be like the Metroidvania
I
person
know,
on
and
the
I
show.
haven't played some of those games. I know,
And it's
horrible.
like, yeah, these games are so like I was literally just casually, and I've said this before on the show. If I play these for 5 minutes, I'm like balls deep in them. like I'm already 25%
So,
through.
not very deep
Circle
at
of
all.
the Moon.
Castlevania Balls of the Moon.
I like that
Castle of
one.
the Moon, like that opening music track in the first stage, is just
Yeah.
it just hooks me every time. I love it.
And as cool as the Dead Cell stuff that's coming is, it actually made me more sad in a way because I'm like, why don't like? There's so many Metroidvanias coming out. The Castlevania IP is just so rich that having a full blown Metroidvania Castlevania game is just free money. Free money. Like, what are they doing? They could spit one of these out every year using different studios. Fuck. But anyway, Circle of the Moon's pretty cool, and it's to me by far the worst of the 3 advanced Castlevania games. So, like, yeah, I'm probably gonna go back and play them all. But how about you, Mike? What have you been playing?
Right, so as you guys would all know, The Witcher 3 Enhanced Edition is out. So I've been smashing that a little bit. Couple of things about it. Number one, some performance issues that people have experienced on PC specifically. I noticed some of that too if I have ray tracing on. But once you put ray tracing off, ran beautifully on my 3070.
Can I just say, like, why the fuck is like the PC version of games so shit now? It's amazing. It's like
honestly, it's not. Well, shit is in. the RT thing completely tanks it.
Yeah, but like
That's the
Elden
biggest
Ring,
shit
Elden
problem
Ring is
of it.
still a bit funny for a lot of people. Right?
I don't know. I feel like just 'cause
Stutters?
they still prioritize consoles
Yeah.
maybe in
Yeah.
some of those games, and
it's amazing.
PC just has so many different permutations
Variations
and
and stuff,
combinations
yeah.
that drivers and people and older drivers and I don't know. But
Yeah.
anyway, it runs well, looks beautiful even without ray tracing on. It's a shame that I can't have it with ray tracing on. I mean, I could. It's just that it tanks it a little too much, and then you compromise on other things if you're trying to get it stable. But I did notice a few more bugs than normal, and I don't know if that's because of all the integrated mods, things that I just don't remember being that prevalent in the previous version of it, if you could call it that. Just NPCs kind of disappearing, conversations not starting properly, just weird little things like that I'm thinking, is that actually what was in the original game? Because I continued my game, right? I haven't replayed it to be able to compare apples with apples. I just continued the save. So maybe that was always the case in those locations. I don't know.
I mean, the original game and still had bugs. So
Yeah, but I thought they would have ironed it by now, right? As in the
Mike,
pre
it's
enhanced edition.
amazing. CDPR rushing a game to hit a release date, given that they committed to 2022, the end of 2020. I just couldn't imagine that from this studio. Like, jeez.
Unheard of.
completely unprecedented.
But look,
Just unprecedented.
In saying that, really enjoying it. Looks beautiful. One of the coolest additions, in my opinion, is the cross-platform saves. Now, previously, you guys would remember that I was playing it between Switch and PC because that was the only two versions that were compatible, which was a shame. Now it's compatible across all the platforms.
I
including
didn't
Switch
actually
still,
know
as far
that.
as I'm aware.
That's kind of
So-
cool, actually. Shit.
It actually is really cool because I've been playing between the lounge room where I've got the TV and the computer where I've obviously got it on PC. So it's Xbox switching over to PC, and it's been really good. There's a few little tiny quirks, as in it forgets HUD settings and stuff like that, so you got to reset it up between the two. And there's a few other things that aren't quite the same, but by and large, it's freaking awesome, the fact that you can do something like that. And to me, strangely enough, that's actually one of the coolest things about it. Other than, of course,
I do get it. If
much
it changes,
nicer.
if it changes how you're playing it, right? Like, it is pretty massive.
Because you can kind of just go and move to a different room.
Yeah. So you can play it on the Series X in your case. I'm guessing you have it on, and then on the Switch, right? So you've
yeah,
kind
and
of
then
got the
on
best
the
of
bed, I
both
could go on the
worlds.
Switch. Yeah. So it's like I go between three rooms, and I can, which I know sounds crazy, and it's cool to be able to have that ability to do that. But it is three completely different systems and three completely different rooms. But it is kind of cool that you can continue the exact same game. It does look vastly different, especially between the Switch and the PC version, especially now. But it's still it's an awesome thing. So the other, sorry, did any of you guys actually try the enhanced edition yet?
No, I think it's called the complete edition, isn't it?
I thought the complete edition was, I don't know.
I thought it was
So-
called Game
what
of the
they
Year
call it.
edition, Part 2.
Yeah, so but it's
know
I
what
mean
it's
it's
called
a
anymore.
free upgrade to anyone that already has a Witcher 3. But no, I haven't tried it. I don't know. Maybe I'll go back to it eventually. The thing is, I've beaten that game 4 times, and I think that's kind of enough to last me for a long time, to be honest. I love The Witcher 3, but there's like, if they turned around and said, "Oh, it's a completely new set of achievements," of course I'd jump into it.
They should have done that. Damn it.
But no, look, it's a shame, especially for those PC players, because like that, as Cinti got saying, like CDPR, like you got to land these releases, man. You got to land them. You burnt your goodwill, and you're just starting to rebuild it a bit. You got to land them.
Yeah, I've got it on PC. I actually don't know where I've got it. I can't remember if it's Steam or not.
Yep.
I gotta check.
You actually just reminded me.
Epic
I was
Games free game or
talking last
something.
week about trying to
Yeah,
figure out
maybe
where I
it's
was playing
Epic.
Ultima.
Maybe it's Epic. Yeah, did you find out?
Yeah,
when you were
Epic had it
playing
for free. No,
Ultima?
still couldn't. I looked more and more and more. The only thing I could possibly think of is it was the NES or the SNES version on one of my handhelds. That's the only, because the rest is the SNES version.
Yeah, there is a SNES version. I've
So
played that as well.
maybe
yeah.
on that, because I know I had a
okay.
copy of that, but I'm confused as hell to this day where the hell I had that game and where I played it.
Did you narrow it down by actually finding out like the places where it's available first?
Yes, I did. I googled
Okay.
it. I'm like, okay, which platforms has it? Blah blah blah. I even tried. I thought maybe it was through an online DOSBox thing. Nah, it wasn't through that. So anyway, I'm confused as hell to this day. So I don't know if I could have bought it through like Humble Bundle or something, or
Humble
some
Bumble.
thing like that. I just don't
Right.
remember what now. Anyway, that's still a mystery that's left. However, the SNES version, by the way, because I'm like, hey, I could just continue playing that or something. It's quite a different edition to what was on PC. Apparently, they stripped a lot out.
Yeah.
They changed a lot of the story. It was kind of a different game to the PC version.
Weirdly
More
enough,
family friendly.
I think it's the Ultima 7. I think I played that on
Yeah, that's the
PC,
one.
and then is that on SNES?
That's the one that's
Yeah,
on SNES.
yeah. I played
that's
them
the one
both.
I'm trying to.
Weirdly enough,
play,
I
but
played
can't-
both of
can't
them
remember
on
this.
PC and SNES. So I know exactly what you're talking about. I figured it out. It's GOG that I have The Witcher 3.
Perfect.
This is
That's
back in the
the-
day where I'm
that's
like,
the one you
I'll
want.
support this little studio, this indie studio that does
Back in the
good
day.
by the player. So I got it on that.
that's what I played
I
on
do
as
want
well.
to go back to Witcher. And now with all these updates and everything. It's so weird though. You go on GOG, and if I click on Witcher 3, it says I can buy it. Right? I'm like, okay,
Weird.
that's weird. I'm logged in, right? It says I can buy it.
Yeah.
Then I click on library and I have it in my library. I'm like, why does it not just show me that I have it? Not
that's
that I
weird.
should buy it. It's
Unless
fucking weird.
it's because you have just the base game.
No,
not
complete
the-
edition.
You've got the
Yeah,
complete...
complete edition,
Okay,
yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other game that I played is High on Life, which came out a few days ago as well. You guys played it too? Sweden?
I've only played through like the first mission, like bounty or whatever you call it. So not a lot, but I just wanted to just at least try it out.
Is this on Game Pass PC?
Yes. Yeah, that's what.
Okay.
It's on both, but I've been
Okay.
playing it on Game Pass PC. Yeah. Okay, so thoughts. I really like it. So multiple reasons why I like it. And it's not a perfect game by any means. There's a whole bunch of pretty buggy things and not intentionally buggy. And I'm not talking about the alien bug kind of bugs.
And then-
I'm talking about actual bug bugs.
Just for context, this is the Justin Roiland
Yeah, so-
game. Yeah,
that's
yeah,
right, yeah. So
from
created
like
with
Rick and Morty. Anyone
Rick and
doesn't
Morty.
know, so yeah.
Similar sense of humor, all that shit. And you guys know I love Rick and Morty. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but I actually find this game a breath of fresh air, in the sense that it's unique. As a first-person shooter, it's very unique in how it feels. As a world building, it's quite unique. The dialogue in it is quite unique, and even little things, which I don't know if you guys will, especially into God, if he likes to just skip a lot of the story and whatnot. If you stay behind to listen to dialogue, those are some of the funniest moments. They're not even like part of the main game itself, if you know what I mean. There could be like a character that is on the ground after something happens, and you're supposed to just walk away and continue the quest. Be like, I'll just hang around for a few minutes and see what he says, and it's fucking hilarious, the dialogue. So it's little
And
things like that.
Can I say one thing? I do pay attention to stories when they're good. So like BioShock, I listen to like a lot of the audio logs and hunt them
Okay.
down and everything like that. It's just it has to be at a certain level, not
so
a
I
Marvel
don't-
style writing of story.
I mean,
which
the
most games
story
are.
in this is like, I don't want to spoil anything. It's
Yeah, spoiler further
so
for
far, it's
Sweeney,
not
'cause I'm
exactly
not
in
gonna
and
play
of
this game.
itself an amazing story, but the mini stories within that and the dialogue is just top notch. In my
I just so Mike, because you tweeted, not tweeted, sorry, you
Tweeted.
you
I
messaged
don't even have a
us
Twitter
a couple of things.
Yeah,
And
sorry.
I'm like, the thing is, it's a comedy game, so to me, like the jokes and the Easter eggs and stuff are the content of the
Yeah,
game. So that's why I'm
absolutely.
like, oh, because I did want to try it. I've only played it, I said, like at the start of the game. There was one like joke that just made me I just was laughing my ass off.
Which one? Without spoiling,
It references another game, right? It's like in that first mission, involving a character that's standing in front of you, and I'm like, I don't want to
tell
spoil
me
it for
offline,
people.
tell me offline,
I'll tell
yeah.
you offline,
Yeah.
but it did make me laugh my ass off, and if that continues to happen throughout the game, then that'll be good. So
there's quite a few moments, and again, I don't think it's everyone's cup of tea, but there are a lot of other moments like that where I did just burst out laughing at, and not just the dialogue, but some of the ideas. I'll wait till you get to, let's just say, a blue and a red door, and once you get to that, you'll remember when you get to the blue and the red door. It's impossible to miss. I just want to hear your thoughts, whether you you enjoyed that as well. So anyway, like super awesome. I actually watched a brief review on IGN did one, and it's really funny. They gave it a 10, and then
A 10.
no,
IGN.
just this is the funny part. So they're like,
okay.
oh, 10, amazing, blah blah blah, and then they play an in-game clip, and the in-game clip is the gun talking, going, oh yeah, so like Kotaku, IGN, and oh yeah, well this is so maybe you guys should like take 2 points off because of this, and then they revise their score and they go like -2 and they go 8 out of 10.
That's funny.
It's just it's hilarious. So it's got a lot of those sort of fourth wall breaking, but well done. Not the so far the ones that I kind of cringe at. I actually quite enjoyed the fourth wall breaking stuff that they
It
included.
feels really solid gameplay wise. Like I was
Yeah, it actually is.
not expecting it to like. I knew it was a first person shooter, but I didn't realize that it's like it feels almost like a bit of a throwback, but like a really solid, let's say like early 360 era first person shooter kind of feel to it, you know. And I
Pretty
don't know
much,
if this is a first time dev or not, the actual studio behind it. Because the game also looks pretty nice as well.
It
Like,
actually really does.
yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Is it Unreal
does.
Engine?
Not sure to
I
be
don't know.
honest. So
Here's a selling point though, maybe for you, Intigot.
Why are you trying to
One
sell me
of the
on it?
guns, and I don't think this is a spoiler or anything, but one of the guns is voiced by Leon Black from the character from Curb Your Enthusiasm, but not the character person, just the voice of the guy.
Yeah. That's not going to sell me.
And there's some really good dialogue that comes out of it as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Like,
Really good.
I have to say, you're a good Rick and Morty fan because it's a little bit of the same category as like vegans who get a little bit excited about what they're doing and high on their own life. So you don't really push the
What?
whole Mick and dude, like the kind of meme around Rick and Morty fans are like how it's so revolutionary and you have to watch it. It's the greatest show of all time. Rah rah rah.
I wouldn't say it's the greatest show of all time, but it's smart. I think it's actually really smart. Not just the writing itself, but the ideas behind the show and the philosophy behind the show. And some of the episodes are some of my favorite writing in terms of the philosophy behind what happens with the characters.
Yeah. And Swinny, it seems to be the same dev that did Trover Saves the Universe, the VR game by Justin Roiland.
Done that.
oh,
much
okay,
then.
that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Which is
highly-
still, by
highly
the way,
recommend.
like a top 10 VR game every month.
Wow.
Like that game always sells really well. So yeah, but
Highly recommend
it's on Game
Okay.
Pass, so there's
Yeah, it's on
like
Game
half
Pass,
a
so-
chance that I will just like play it and see how it goes.
The only thing that in the back of my mind I'm hesitant to continue, otherwise I'll probably be smashing this game, is there are complete big game breaking bugs that I've read about. I think 2 or 3 from memory.
Oh wow.
That can completely lock you up and you'd have to restart the entire save.
They're patching it pretty quick.
They're
though,
patching
There's
it,
been
yeah.
multiple patches.
But then I'm
already,
like, I
so-
should probably just wait, maybe a week or something till they resolve the major ones. The minor ones, whatever. I don't care about as much. But the major ones like that, I would be kind of pissed, especially because I explore everything and I wait there to listen to the conversations because I find them hilarious and
Yeah.
spend quite a bit of time doing that side stuff. That it'd be really annoying if you just get to one of those annoying bugs after 10 hours or something.
Yeah,
So that's me. What
Nice.
about you, Swinny?
Well, I've only got one game to talk about. Before I get there, I just wanted to show you guys this that finally arrived. My copy.
Oh, that's cool, man. That
Of
looks
Ender
sick.
Lilies. Ender
That is
Lilies.
really cool, yeah.
Which was our game of the year
The
last
official
year.
global game of the year last year. Yes.
Ender Lilies, Quiet of the Nights, a great Metroidvania. Interestingly enough, I don't know how limited run works, and that's what I was going to ask you guys with this again. It was a local package. It
do you
wasn't
mean
an
local?
international package.
Sent
So it was
locally.
it was mailed to
Interesting.
me in a limited run box from another place I live in Victoria, so another place in Victoria. So I'm like, how does that work? Do they send it all to a distribution center within that state?
That makes sense.
Or is it multiple different states? It's
Maybe.
like, is it just happen to be Victoria that is limited run in Australia? It was just
Yeah.
it was surprising. So-
I'd imagine they probably have a hub in. It could just be a coincidence. It was from Victoria.
Yeah,
It could be
yeah.
that they have
Well,
a
I
hub
think
in Victoria. And they
Victoria
send
and
a
New South
whole
Wales are the most
big
likely places, right? Out of
box
anywhere.
around.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just
Anyway.
redistribute.
Cool.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
So
That's awesome, though.
I'm probably. I don't know if I don't know if I'll open it. Actually, I might leave it sealed because I've got it already.
Sealed.
Could be worth something.
Sealed.
Well, I don't know if like the limited run stuff is actually like worth stuff because it's like I think like in the future, like limited. It wouldn't surprise me if limited run games releases aren't kind of factored into that collecting market as much as like a regular release, let's say. So, but
You never know. I mean, people pay what they want to pay, and it might be that it's a very limited thing. Like for example, the Mass Effect, statues that I bought yonks ago. I don't remember. It was created by a third party, and from memory, it wasn't even like a well-known third party thing. But I just purely think that because they're so ridiculously limited for such a classic game, that they might be worth something regardless of whether it was like a. But anyway, we'll see.
well, the game I'm going to talk about, I mentioned it last week, is Yakuza Like a Dragon. So I played a damn lot of this game this week, even though I was quite sick. I still managed to put in like 40 to 50 hours into this
Whoa,
game.
that's crazy.
It is a beast of a game. Like, if you care about the story and you watch all the cutscenes and everything like that, it is a 50-hour game. So it's a long ass game. Like, and some of those cutscenes are really long and they do drag out. Even though I really like the story, it's like it's weird. It's like it's all about politics and obviously the whole like actual Japanese politics and obviously the different like Yakuza clans and all that stuff. But it's just really cool. Like cool characters. Part of me does want to go and play through all the other Yakuza games now. But it's like the time, it's like, oh man, there's basically like Yakuza 0 through to 6, and that's 7 bloody games, and I'm sure they're not all as long as this, but and the thing is, I'm actually just up to like the final like boss area now, so I'm about to beat the game, but I've probably got another 30, 40 hours if I want to do 100%, so it's a long game, but I really, really like it. It is just cool. Like, it's just a cool game. And something about the world, like the amount of detail that is in this world, it's not the most beautiful looking game, but the amount of detail they put into just like bottles on a table or like CDs in a CD case and stuff. And it's kind of wild because they've built up all these assets and these areas that they've reused throughout all the different games. So by the time they get to like Yakuza 7, they're able to just go, okay, we've got all these assets. We don't need to recreate them. Especially like the main map, or not the main map in this game, but it's Kamurocho is like the main area in most of the Yakuza games. And you go there in this and you're like, man, there's like entire office buildings decked out and there's nothing in here in this game. And it's because it's in other games. So they're able to just copy, I'm sure there's more than copy and paste, but they're able to take advantage of it.
That's
but
really
it's
cool.
so detailed, and it's got that Sega polish, which is really, really cool. But the one big negative I feel about the game, and this is an issue a lot of people have, is the game's pretty, I wouldn't say easy, but it's pretty like, it's doable. You don't need to like, stress too much until you get a certain point in the game, and it hits this massive difficulty
I've heard about
spike.
this. I've heard about this.
And it's like basically just before that difficulty spike, they introduce you to this battle arena, and they're like, oh, and you can do this, you can come back and do this, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, you should probably do this, but it is optional, right? And I'm like, man, I've been breezing through everything. I'm going to come back here when I've got a better party so I can just breeze through this battle arena, right? I got absolutely creamed. And basically that by that difficulty spike, and that basically means like that battle arena is not optional. It's basically mandatory to level you up for the next part, and it's just shitty game design. Like, build it in, or just don't have the difficulty spike at all. It's like so. But that was one kind of bad strike against the game that I really, really enjoy. It's just. Cool characters, cool story, and just really, really like a dragon. So,
it's gonna be. I feel like this is gonna be almost like it's too far to say this is a cult hit, but do you know where I'm coming from? I think the quality of these games has not like the reception and the widespread appeal of these games hasn't caught up with the quality of them. And I do feel like this
Like a
series,
podcast.
because the next game, what is it going to be called? Like a Dragon 8, I think it's going to be called.
Yeah, so and I think it's a great move that they've finally moved away from the Western-only name of Yakuza and they're bringing it close to the Japanese one. I mean, the series was only in Japan for so long. You know, like, I can't remember the first. It may have been even Yakuza 3 was the first game, potentially. I don't know off the top of my head, but it took ages to come outside of Japan. And it is basically it's just a love letter to like Sega games. Like I was mentioning, you know, I was playing all Virtual Fighter 2 and Virtual 5 in there, Virtual Fighter 5 and everything. Actually, one funny thing is, and I didn't realize it until afterwards, but there's a job system in the game, right? Because it's a turn-based JRPG in a way. A job system where you change classes from like hero to like, you know, enforcer and all this stuff. But the actual place you go to change your jobs out is actually the in-game equivalent of Centrelink. So you go to a job center to change your jobs. It's just like I didn't click until afterwards that it's on the nose, but I just didn't. It just made me laugh so much when I realized. So
That's awesome.
but yeah, I think it's worth playing for, you know, for most people. Just be aware the cutscenes are really long and there's a lot of them. So
yeah, no, fair enough. Fair enough. And that does us all for the games that we've been playing this week. And we've only got, what was that, Mike?
I gotta go pee. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, go. I don't think you're gonna be that interested in the next story. I love how like I've switched to the host just in case Swinny has to go, and then Mike's the first to go. That's fucking awesome. Very on brand. Very on brand. All right, we only have one news story, and then we'll jump into our top 10 list. But whoa, what a news story! I need to rewrite this on the fly, but Swinny, I've got a question for you. We've seen miracles before. Parting of the Red Sea, some dude walking on water, turning said water into wine.
Some dude.
Heck, we've seen that said dude come back, a la Call of Duty Zombies mode. But what's the last great miracle that's happened? Well, something that will make you believe in the Lord himself has come down and touched us with his presence. Stop. Wait. Don't answer. I'll tell you. We've got a Christmas miracle, Swinny. It's a bloody amiibo Nanza! New amiibo, future releases, and restocks. So Nintendo this week has announced that Sephiroth from
I
Final
thought you were going to
Fantasy
tell me new F-Zero was on the way.
or Star Fox or something. We've got Kazuya and Sephiroth coming as purchases. So on the 13th of Jan, right around the corner. So these has been confirmed. You can buy them right now, so you can get them off EB Games, off Australia's My Nintendo Store, or JB Hi-Fi. They've also announced and released images of Pyra and Mithra from Xenoblade Chronicles 2, of course, with the 2023 date. But Swinny, very conspicuously, they've said nothing about Sora. Nothing in the announcements. Remember back to Sakurai, did not mention Sora at all.
Sora, the last remaining one?
Yes. And I think it would be almost perfect and poetic if Sora is not released as an amiibo. And it would literally be the only Smash amiibo that's not released. That I'm sure it can't happen. I'm sure that they will have Sora.
I've got a question for you two guys.
Yes.
If they said, hey, we're going to release a Sora amiibo, but it's exclusive to, I don't know, let's say Disney World or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And you got to fly over to the US to go there to be able to get your amiibo. Would you do it?
No, of course not.
Okay.
Like, as much as you think I'm crazy, I'm not that crazy.
I'm actually
No.
surprised.
I don't know.
No, I'm not that crazy. The craziest thing I did was I ordered and then got a reshipper to send me a gold Shovel Knight amiibo because I wasn't sure if it's going to come out in Australia. I really wanted
Boxes
that.
of Animal Crossing amiibo cards.
Yeah, but that's a present. That's a present. So I don't think that's that crazy. I mean, that's just like people buying Pokemon cards, right?
Okay.
No, and with the boxes, on that, what's smarter? Buying random packs and then having to buy so much, or buying a box where they literally have every single one in the collection?
Yeah,
It's
I get the box.
way smarter to buy the whole thing in one go. I can afford it. I'm fortunate enough to be able to afford it.
Sorry, I don't know what I missed, but this
You
is
missed the
relevant-
greatest intro to the news story and the most high energy.
Damn
They're
it.
making a new F-Zero, Mike. Woo!
So it reminds me, this whole amiibo collection thing reminds me of, you guys know that I don't have anymore, hopefully, had
Yeah,
a
go on.
problem with collecting Hot Wheels. It's a very relevant piece of information. I totally deserve that. I started my entire Hot Wheels collection problem when I started collecting Corvette cars. Welcome back. Anyway, now that I stopped collecting them after probably buying about... I don't know if I'm exaggerating when I say there's 1,000 of them. Maybe slightly exaggerating.
Yeah,
but
you
it's a
should
lot.
never have a go at me about anything.
No,
I
no,
can
I'm
see
not. I'm not
I
having
can
a
see
go.
the headline
and
now.
also-
Local man dies
what-
when pile of Hot Wheels
Hot Wheels falls on his head. Yeah.
No,
Smothers him.
I can
am not
improve that
proud of
headline.
it.
Local minimalist dies
Yeah,
in front of
that's
thousands of Hot Wheels that have killed him.
Exactly that. So now after all that, now that I stopped buying that crap, they are testing me. So what I was saying into God is that I started this entire thing by purely buying Corvettes. That was it. I only collected like maybe 15, 20 Corvettes, and that was it. Like that was the thing that I wanted, just a bunch of little toy Corvettes. And then that branched out into just about any other freaking car they had. Now they've released, finally, 8 like collector's Corvettes. Right now, right when I can't buy this shit anymore, they released exactly like the thing that I wanted all this time. So this is the ultimate test. If I can resist buying these, then I can resist buying anything, I reckon.
If you trick your mind into thinking that they're actually food, maybe you can buy them.
I suppose I could chop the cardboard up.
That was your
into-
condition. You can spend money on food.
Or shelter. The shelter.
Yeah,
But,
shelter.
but you know what? I'm
Little
excited to hear
Corvette
more
hats.
about Amiibo, Indigo.
Anyway, yeah, sorry. Let's go back to the amiibos.
So yeah, we're gonna. So so there's 5. Sorry, really, technically 4 characters left in terms of Smash. So we've already got Sephiroth and Kazuya coming out. So of the 4, and then Pyramithra. They're going to have separate amiibos, but I think they're going to probably have a dual pack in Australia. And then, like I said, Sora, we don't know if it's coming. I think it's going to come. I think everyone's getting paranoid that it's not going to come because they're like, oh, it's so hard to negotiate with Disney and get the toy made and stuff. I'm like, there's so many Sora toys out there. There's like literally Sora toys from Funko, from everywhere. So I can't imagine that would be a problem.
Yeah, and look, the
It'd be part of the
merchandise-
deal.
Merchandise of toys,
And
like
Disney love money.
Disney does that all the time.
Yeah.
you know?
And the idea that they would have signed off on Sora knowing, because they wouldn't have, it's not like they do it and then negotiate. They do it as part of the negotiation of, they're a professional company, Nintendo, unlike some companies, right? And it's like, they'd be like, okay, it's going to be in the game. We can do this. We can't do this. And we're going to make an amiibo out of it. They would not agree without doing the amiibo, I think. Because even for Nintendo, it would be such a bad look to release. What is it, Swinny? There's like 82 characters in Smash, I think.
Oh, God knows. I can't remember.
Because like I said, every single character so far has an amiibo and some variations as well, as I'll touch on in a second. So it's like to have one of the whole roster not have an amiibo is like, I personally think is really funny, even as someone who collects a lot of amiibo.
They're still missing the most important one.
Which one?
Female
Which is-
Byleth.
Yeah, dude. I literally was
My
so
main,
hopeful.
damn it.
I
They
know.
can't- As in, they don't have one at all.
No, so what it is because in the Fire Emblem games, you can pick a male or female, so there's not like a true protagonist.
Right.
But for whatever reason, Nintendo went with male Byleth, as even though they always get criticized about having too many male characters in Smash, you think it's the best opportunity to pick a female version. Anyway, I'm
Balance it
so
out.
pissed that they didn't make the female P2. Anyway, the last thing I wanted to update is, and this is pretty big news for Amiibo insane people, that every single Fire Emblem franchise Amiibo has been reprinted and available again, right? Even ones from like 5 years ago. I guess it's because of Fire Emblem Engage coming up, which has a lot of historical characters and has a lot of Amiibo crossover in it. And you can buy them right now on my Nintendo store, and soon I'm guessing EB or Gamesman or JB Hi-Fi in
eBay.
Australia. Well, and then on that, dude. So I Well, I guess I was gonna ask the question, but I'll just say it myself. I've got all these amiibo, right? like, but
What did you grab?
no. But so like, there was a
Tell
bunch
us.
that I was missing. There was a bunch that I was missing, right? And I'll give you an example. It's like Corrin P2, like amiibo. That would sell like regularly for like $150, $200. Just that. So it's like 10 times
Plastic
the
toy.
RRP.
Holy moly.
And like Salika, Tiki, like all these characters, they're like selling for like $100 each.
You can buy an actual Salika for that price.
So I grabbed like a whole bunch of them. Like everyone that I was missing, I just said, all right, I'm buying them all. And
you're loaded, so-
it sounds, no, I'm not loaded, but I'm fortunate. But yeah, like, so I was happy, man. And I felt,
Fortunately loaded.
I felt, I feel so bad for people. I was looking at eBay, right? Someone had just bought like Corrin P2 for like $350 the day before these reprints were announced. And that was loose. Ouch. Not even in the box. Sealed. So, and unfortunately, at the time of writing, Salika and Corrin P2 are already sold out on my Nintendo store. So it's like brutal.
Damn. Well, it's eBay.
But if someone's so obsessed, what I would recommend is keep your eye on EB and on Gamesman and JB Hi-Fi, because I think they'll have them available. That's as part of the secret Nintendo press release that I've got access to. So
Wait,
they're
do you
gonna
just have
go.
a bot that figured these things out? Or
Well, I
was it
do,
just
but I
based on
don't
news?
use it. I don't
Okay,
use it. I don't use it. I'm not a scalper or anything like that.
No, you don't resell them. I know that.
No, I don't
You just
resell
collect them for yourself.
I just collect them. They just go and unfortunately I didn't remember exactly which ones I had and didn't, so I just like I better buy them again
Yeah,
just in
I can
case.
just buy all of them. It's only $150 a pop. Not a problem.
No. These are 20. These are 20 a pop.
Okay.
Yeah.
20's
so-
all right. Especially when you put it relative to 150. That's not
Oh,
bad.
like with the amiibo stuff, the thing is, if I sold them all, I would make a lot of money.
You'll
like,
put your
compared to
kids
what
through
I-
college, basically.
I would make a lot of money pretty easily. So yes, I was pretty excited about our little amiibo topic, Swinny.
Look,
really cool.
it took us over 100 episodes and over 2 years to get an Amiibo news story as the headliner and sole
true.
news story
True.
on the entire show. It is Big Week in Amiibo finally.
Finally, and I think it's valid this time. I literally bought 13 amiibo.
It's extremely valid. Can I ask you, do you or anyone you know actually use them for their intended purpose?
I
as
have.
amiibos?
I have.
Okay.
Yeah, I've used them.
I actually
before.
used the like when Amiibos were like a new thing and Smash 4 was out. I actually did use the Martha Amiibo I've got up
so
there.
like you used it once like 10 years ago.
No, I actually used it because you'd like train it up as like a CPU fighter and level it up. I actually used it quite a bit, but the other ones, nah. I just bought them because they're my Smash mains. So
Well, like Metroid 2 Samus Returns actually has like it's probably the most egregious amiibo, and I think it also I could do like a amiibo lore history. I think it also marks the point when Nintendo stopped making really key exclusive features as part of amiibo. So with Metroid 2 Samus Returns, it was like fusion mode from memory was locked behind an amiibo. And like extra stuff was locked behind the amiibo, and they were really hard to
Wow.
get. Like I bought them straight away,
That sucks.
and like they sold out, and like they had one reprint, and that was it. So it was like fuck, like people, and they're literally some of the coolest amiibo. It's like a Metroid and squishy and everything. It's fucking really
but people
cool.
just started selling the RF chips on eBay and stuff like that, didn't they?
Yeah, and I think on
Still.
that, like, I totally get why people do that. You see that more so in the Animal Crossing space because to get the specific card you want can be so with Animal Crossing, you can actually beat the amiibo, and then that villager will come to your village. So some people wanted specific villagers to come, so
Wasn't
they'll
there,
just
like-
buy the cards. You can buy them like a counterfeit card.
Wasn't
I
there like
wouldn't
a
do.
famous like defective amiibo? Was it like a Samus one or something?
There's been
just
ones where there's been misprints and stuff like that where they
Yeah, I
like
just
got
remember
two
one
arms
of
and
Wonderful and
stuff.
rare.
One of them, yeah, being like really rare.
There's one where it's like Samus, she's got two arm cannons, like an arm
that's
cannon on the
sick.
side.
That's what I'm thinking of.
That'd be
That's what-
super rare.
They're not worth
That'd be
anything.
awesome.
There's not
Really?
like I like how I really genuinely know all this shit. They don't really sell for anything. Like
Damn.
people were trying to push it as like a thing. The one that I actually think is really cool. Some people have the proto. I don't know how they got their hands on it. They've got, I guess, because people would just go, "This is junk in China. This is just plastic junk. Throw it out." Right? That's probably how they got their hands on it. But some people have got prototypes of the amiibo. So like the early renditions of what it could look like and stuff. I think that's pretty cool.
That is super cool.
yeah,
I
I don't
mean, if
know
you're
if-
collecting it, that is really cool.
I mean, Swinny, are you gonna think about getting Sephiroth?
Fuck, it looks cool.
I mean,
I was even.
It
thinking
looks
about
pretty cool.
I'll consider it. I'll consider it. I mean, I'd like playing Sephiroth, but I mean, it's been ages since we played Smash in general. So,
Yeah, that's true.
I think I just wanted to collect the people that I just played
You
all
main,
the time
yeah.
with.
Yeah, that
So,
makes sense.
but yeah.
I've collected the ones that I play with and don't play with, and you play with.
And basically all of them.
I haven't checked. I haven't done a stock check on my amiibo collection, but I have most amiibo now. Like, there's a few, but I don't buy, like, if it's not RRP. So there's, like, a few that is just, like, they're literally, like, $700 now. Some of the ones. So, anyway. All right, do you want to get into
shit.
the last bit, Swinny?
Yeah,
do it.
the massive segment, big segment we've wanted to do for
Yes.
ages.
Yeah, so we're finally doing each of our personal top 10 favorite games of all time. Of all time.
Brand new concept. No one's ever done this.
So I've pre-baked a version. I mean, we can lock this in if you want, boys.
Yep, lock it in.
So for the
Done.
audio listeners, we've got Mike as, starting from the first game, Fortnite, Call of Duty Warzone, Apex Legends, Overwatch 2, Valorant, Genshin Impact, Hearthstone, LOL, League of Legends, Dota 2, and Pokemon Legends Arceus. Are you happy to just lock those in, Mike?
Yes, absolutely happy. I mean, I don't know about the order isn't quite right, but that was pretty good.
There weren't any Mario games in there. Come on.
Yeah, true.
Because I actually kind of half like them.
So maybe like a quick rundown of the process, like Swinny. Before we'll start from 10, and we'll do you want to snake our way up? Is that how we want to do it? So
Yeah,
you start with 10.
let's snake.
Let's snake it up. Let's snake our way up.
yeah.
Mike will understand what that means when we get to it.
Do the Mario Kart GS strats.
But Swinny, what was your process of coming up with your list?
So I actually already had a list. I did next to zero prep for this feature, even though it's a feature I've wanted to do for ages, because I already had a list that the file name is called Top 50 Games. But when I went in the file name, this is something I did like months ago, it's actually my top 100 games, even though it's called Top 50. So I already had a top 100 list that, look, I'm sure after like the 30, like there's probably a lot where I'm like, okay, I just couldn't be bothered like sorting the rest of them. But the good thing is I'm actually able to look up anything you guys have that's on here and see where I ranked it in my top 100. So, but
Very
yes,
good.
I do have my top 10, of course.
Awesome. And you, Mike?
So I have a pretty eclectic taste in games. I think generally, I mean, there's preferences that I have, but I tend to play quite a diverse, different range of games.
A diverse, different range of games. Yes, I agree.
Yes, got to double up on that. So I think you'll find the list that I have is, well, actually, now that I think about it, it's probably geared towards a particular genre.
Yeah, no,
But
that's what I was going to say. Me, yeah,
it's-
go on.
Now that I think about it, it probably kind of is. So I actually did start off with, hey, let's look at it more from my top 10 games across different genres and stuff. But then in the end, I think it kind of just became, what are the most memorable, impactful games that I've played? And quite a few of them are part of a series. So then I had to really sit down and think, well, which game in the particular series was actually really, truly my favorite and why? And I have notes as to why each one is the case. So yeah, we'll get into the details and I'll explain more about each one and why.
Yeah. And so for me, I listed a whole bunch of stuff just off of my memory, right? So like, oh, these are all games that, you know, highly impactful, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Then I also went through just all these other lists. So I had like 522 games on the list.
Sheesh.
And then I was like sorting through kind of like passes, if that makes sense. It's like, would this even be in the zone? You know what I mean? Like, bop, and then go through those and like, okay, is this like for sure going to be in a top 10? And it got really hard at the end. I got to like 15 games and it was like brutal. And one thing that I would say that I did, and, you know, be interested to see what you guys landed on. And then maybe, Swinny, we can start with you in your 10th favorite game of all time. And we should say that these are, for anyone in the comments, the definitive top 10 games. So
Were we going to throw any honorable mentions in there? Or?
yeah, I think we can do it as we go. Like, I'm going to probably cover it as I go to certain games. That's how I'm going to do it.
Okay.
But I'll say the way that I did it, and it's not like saying it's right or wrong or you should or shouldn't, is I tried to keep it to, well, actually I did in the end. I just kept it to one game per series. And the reason is because I think there's a few series that, for me personally, I'll end up having too many games in the top 10. And it's like, it's just kind of killing the rest of the games. So there's probably one or two games that if I ranked it purely, would actually be in the top 10, if that makes any sense to you guys. So, but that's just the way I did it. So I know that Swinny, you wouldn't do it like that, knowing you.
Well, yeah, we'll see when it's all revealed. But
Yeah.
do you want me to kick off then?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm excited. So can you guys type in here or?
Oh, okay.
Or I can type. I can type.
Yeah, if you want to type, that'd be great.
Okay, I'm going to probably spell things
I
wrong.
will
but go
mention
on.
one honorable mention because there's a reason. This game has always been in my top 10, but it just got nudged out because over time, right? And just looking at and just kind of readjusting, my sole honorable mention is Tekken 3. So Tekken 3 was always hovering in like 8, 9, and whenever I think in my head of my top 10 games, it's amazing. My favorite fighting game. I just absolutely love it and started my love for the Tekken series. So
Interesting.
my
I'm
one big
surprised that you
honorable
only have
mention-
one honorable mention. That's impressive.
Oh, I mean, I can talk about more, but it's
Yeah.
almost like if I mention honorable mentions, then it kind of, it's not going to come up
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm not going to do it until I get to
Yeah.
certain games. But yeah.
so my number 10
Yes.
is a little game by the name of Mass Effect.
Oh, interesting.
So
Very interesting. Number 10. Okay.
Mass Effect is
Already loving this list and what we're doing.
to me, Mass Effect is a perfect sci-fi game. It's just, and I'm not a massive sci-fi person, but to me, that is how you do it right. A game that you obviously is great to play and everything like that, but you actually get invested in the world. You sit there actually reading the codex entries for made-up species that that they created, and the fact that those species are so iconic throughout all the games in the series and everything. I think that they nailed it. I know everyone, obviously, Mass Effect 2, in terms of gameplay, massive improvements, even number 3 and everything like that. But Mass Effect 1, I've talked about it many times on the show, is the closest to an RPG for me, and I love the systems in that. And it's just the music, like everything, it even looked great. It was buggy as hell when it launched. It's one of the buggiest games I've ever played, but you get through those bugs, and it's such an unforgettable experience. I absolutely love Mass Effect.
Nice.
So yeah. I could keep talking if you want.
So we're snaking, Mike. So just to be clear, so it goes this way, and it'll go to you, and then it'll go to me.
Excellent. Cool. So look, I actually struggled to put them in order, and I refused to. No, because I refused to do it because I legit, genuinely cannot do them in an order. I tried. I sat down and I go, I can't tell you what my top. They're like my top 10 games, and which was hard enough to begin with to narrow it down. I can't rightfully tell you, yeah, this is definitely my number 1 game, or my number 2, or my number 3 game. I can't. Because each in their own right, it's like having 10 children and then going, yeah, definitely this one's my favorite. I'm sure people can do that, but I can't. I'm like, they're all my lovable
Sure,
children.
a lot of people can do that.
I like them all.
I think everyone can do it.
So I will
the point of what
start.
we're doing. So wait, are you saying that you don't have a top 10 list? Is this what you're telling me?
I
right
have
now?
I have a top 10 list of my top 10 games of all time, but not in order.
So, Swinny, whenever you wonder when I'm leaving the show, just go back to
No,
moments
but-
like this.
But you guys said your top 10. You didn't say put your top 10 in order.
Of course it's in order. Of
No,
course
it doesn't
it's in
have
order.
to. Why does it have to be though? To me, it's not, because again, I can't tell you legit. I tried. I actually sat down and I tried and I went, okay, what's my favorite game out of all of these? I couldn't even do that.
What is this? The subreddit technically the truth?
Well, it is
You
technically true.
technically didn't
It
say
is my
ranked
top
top
10. So I look. Okay,
you do
let's.
you, Mike.
I
I'll
am,
do-
I am
I will
sure
put
if I go
them-
quickly on our offline chat,
Yeah,
that we would say in order. I bet there's like something that we so clearly specifically says. But yeah,
Maybe.
go on.
But I will let me put them in a rough order just to appease you guys.
Yes,
but
please.
Yes,
This
being
is
a top
not
10
what
list
I
of
think is
like with
actually-
the number 1 game. Yes, go on.
this is not necessarily what I think is the full locked in list, but it's pretty close. So number 10 on the list would be Need for Speed 2. Now, it is Need for Speed 2 for specific reasons. I have played countless racing games, and I mean countless racing games. From day dot of racing games, everything from Wacky Wheels, Mario Kart to the latest Need for Speed. I'm a huge racing game fan. However, probably the two most memorable racing games that I can think of are the original Need for Speed.
God of War.
Oh, very cool.
Everything. That's
that your
crazy.
number
No,
one
I
game?
dragged something on my screen and it just made everything
Was that
disappear.
like a, what was that an animated background? That was
yeah,
really
yeah,
cool.
yeah. It's an animated background.
Man, that's sick. I got it. You got to tell me how to do that. Anyway, so Need for Speed 2
It's
specifically.
you go into DOS and then you do you type format and then space C.
See, Colin? Okay.
Wait. The Kratos Hatos group. He
Yeah!
has
What the hell?
Ragnarok as a desktop
He had
background.
it as a
Last
desktop
week's episode
background.
title was a sham.
I need the douche. I need to replicate the douche button to you as well.
Put it to yourself. What do you mean to him? To you? You're the one that.
No, so I'll explain myself. When I
Okay,
play
sure.
games, I change my
Yeah.
backgrounds to the games I'm playing. That's a bit of an insight.
Okay,
into
so
me.
whether you like the game or not, you will change it to that game.
Yeah. That's what I do. So even
Okay,
I'll have it
sure.
Cyberpunk 2077.
And whatever, it's a cool background. I'll give you that.
We're back
yes,
online.
so Need for Speed 2. So I played countless games. Forza, gosh, Midtown Madness. Do you remember Midtown Madness? The Microsoft games?
Yeah.
Ton. Micro Machines. There were so many games that I went through on the list trying to think which ones are actually my favorite. And Need for Speed 2, purely because of the variety of cars, purely because of the time in my life when I would play that game, when I actually thought I could own one of those cars one day. That's not going to happen. But back then I was like, yeah, I could probably own one of these cars one day. So sick. I had dreams and aspirations back then, boys. Not anymore. So definitely Need for Speed 2, number 10.
Good pick.
Sorry, I was just reading
go.
through the signal to catch you out, like very specifically on this. It's I know the evidence is in there. It's not. I just evidence does
Look,
zip is there. I'm just
I
waiting
get
to
that
look through.
I do agree that, especially for most people, top 10 implies list them in order. But to me, in my head, it was, no, these are my top 10 because I can't give you a number 1, 2, and a 3 at that level. I just can't.
Yeah, I still haven't found the complete smoking gun. I know it's there. There's already a comment from me. It's like I'm putting it in order. Like I do actually.
Yeah, that's
call
what
out-
you're doing. It doesn't mean I'm going to do it.
Oh my god, this is Swinny. Whenever you want to know why I'm wrapping up
'cause
at
of
the end of the
this.
year, it's this kind of shit.
Okay.
All right. So 10. I don't know if you guys would guess this, but I've got Metal Gear Solid as my 10th
Ah, nice,
favorite
nice.
personal game of all time. I remember playing this when it came out. We're old bastards, obviously. And this game is one of the few games, and I'll say another game because it's not on my list. Gears of War is one of them as well, right? That when I played it for the first time, I was like, damn, this is like fresh, new. What the fuck is this? And I would say this impact of like Kojima in general is massive, obviously, but it's sort of like, to me, and I'm sure there's other games that have done it, but to me, it's just like the one that sticks out. It sort of almost invented a new style of game, because like in the 80s, you had like pure arcade games. It's only just gameplay. And then I'd say almost like starting with a lot of Nintendo stuff, a lot of CRPGs. Like they started in RPGs, JRPGs as well, integrate story. But to me, Metal Gear Solid was the first game that was like, this is like a playable movie, different thing, right? And if you think of all the big smash hits on the PlayStation, to me, they're almost more inspired by things like Metal Gear Solid than other things. It's like God of War Ragnarok, as we were just joking about before. It's very much, to me, in the ilk of Metal Gear Solid. It's a game that you play. It's super, strong from a story-wise, narrative perspective. And, man, the game still holds up. It's so fucking cool. Like, and just as soon as I can hear the intro song and music, it's super nostalgic for me. And I'll be there day one if they remake this game and release it. I'm super excited. I'm sure they will do it. And I love this game.
Yeah, just in terms of games that move the medium forward, as you said, like Gears of War, like to me, when you said that, it just made me think, hey, this is a game doing something I've never seen before, moving that medium forward. So
Yeah. And there's other games, but some of them are on my list as well. So like I'll hold off. And I don't know why, but that is kind of impactful for me. It's the same as movies. When I watch the movie where it's like, holy shit, like I haven't seen someone do this. It's, I don't know, it's just very impactful. So we're snaking, Mike. So top 10 lists, generally you rank them in order, like pretty much every single person would do that. And then snaking is where you stay with the person as you change the numbers. So I'll do number 9.
Sounds
So
good. Can I
number
just
9
add a quick thing about Metal Gear, by the way?
Yeah, go.
I mean, Metal Gear just missed my top 10 as well. Again, very impactful, but it's also very impactful. Just, I remember I picked up my copy of the game. I'm not going to dox anyone. No one's going to give a shit about this name anyway. But you guys probably remember Michelle in high school.
Don't say names. You don't even. It's totally unimportant for the story.
Anyway, this girl from high school. I remember picking my copy from her, and she had just come out of the shower, and her hair was wet. And that memory just remains in my head.
That's why you don't say her name as well
for the rest of my life, right? So that in itself just added
when you
to
hear the music,
experience.
dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, exactly.
You're thinking of some like underage person coming out of the shower. Okay,
I was
great.
like, what? 14. Well, how old were we even back
all
then?
right,
14,
all right.
15.
Indigo, what's your number 9? What's
Fuck
your number
me,
9?
Mike. You at least one thing I'll say is like you're consistent. You were consistent and
Consistently
predictable.
bad. All right,
My
all right.
ninth game is Galaga.
Galaga. Wow. Cool.
Yes.
I was expecting this somewhere.
I thought it'd be somewhere in the
Yeah,
list.
look, so I not saying I don't have any other arcade games on the list, but to me, this is the perfect quintessential 80s arcade game. I was really close to having Donkey Kong on this list, but personally, like, I've played way more Galaga. And the two things that I think are amazing about these games, like Donkey Kong and Galaga, but Galaga in particular, is there's such a flow to the game, but there's still a lot of RNG. So there's set patterns of like when the enemies come down and how they come down and the way the stages evolve, but it's still like slight RNG bits in it, and it keeps it fresh for me. Like, it's one of the few arcade games that I could just honestly just have as its own cab at my house because I love this game so much. I was in some battle with someone at my uni that, like, I never met this person, but I would go into like the union house, like where all the students go, and there was one Galaga machine, as with some other machines, and I would set a high score. And then, like, 3 weeks later, someone else has set the high score above me. I'm like, all right, fuck, I got to go harder and get the high score. And we did this for, like, a whole semester. It was crazy. It was like, and I never met this person. So, shout out to that person who's obviously also a Galaga lover. But I am fairly good at this game. So, if I ever see this at the arcades, I always play it. And I'm sitting down for like 20, 30 minutes playing because it's like I'm that good at it. And I normally set the high score. So I love this game. It's super cool. I don't know if you guys have played it that much, but it's to me one of the perfect
Not as
arcade
much
games.
as you, that's for sure.
Well, definitely not as much as me.
I mean, I've definitely played it a bunch throughout the years, but I haven't sat down and learnt it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's a real flow to it. And I think that's what I like. It's almost meditative. It's like, I'm just in the zone of like playing it and stuff like that. It's such a cool game. And it's got like really cool gimmicks in it as well. Yeah, friggin' cool game. All right, Mike, it's on you now.
On me now, cool. So number 9 is a game that I think is a little controversial for me to be listing on this top 10 because I never finished it. However, I still think it's in my top 10 games.
It's probably Witcher.
It is. It's The Witcher 3. So
pulled the rug from under him.
Thanks for that.
That's okay.
No,
I think you deserve everything you get today.
I think I do. It is an obvious one. Now, I loved number 2 to bits. Number 1, to be honest, I enjoyed, but not as much. And number 3, I spent hours and hours and hours replaying it multiple times, yet never finishing it. Which kind of also happened with Skyrim, but more so with this. And
have you still not finished Skyrim, by the way?
No, I have actually finished Skyrim.
Oh, okay.
Finally, after all these years and like 20 different editions of the game, I finally finished it on the worst possible console you could play it on, Switch. So with The Witcher 3, I think, everyone knows about the game. I think it's a quintessential RPG. It's a quintessential fantasy RPG. It does so many things so bloody right, especially the gray areas in the game, that many games before that and many games after that just never nailed. This game did it really, really well, and it was graphically beautiful. It's I'm playing it at the moment again. Hopefully this time I'll actually finish it. But then I did actually sit there and it got me thinking that this is going to sound like a pretty dumb cliche. You can still enjoy life even though you haven't finished it yet, right? So it's the same kind of thing. You can still enjoy a game even though you never finished it yet.
Can I say that's like the weirdest statement?
Well,
I can
I'm just
still
saying.
enjoy life even if I haven't finished it. It's like,
Yeah,
what does
so,
that even
so like
mean?
you have to wait till you're like in the
Dead,
end
you
of your
mean?
life to rate it or
hasn't
something or
clocked
go.
life
yet. Clock
"Well, that's
life."
a good thing. I haven't clocked it yet, right? You don't have to clock it to still go. Yeah, I like it or I don't like it, or there were good bits.
I think it
about
makes more
bad
sense if
bits
you said
about
it's the game is more like life, where it's a journey and you enjoy it as you go through. It's not the end when you're dead. That's the point of the
Okay,
game.
that's probably a better way of phrasing
Okay,
it.
yeah,
Yes.
okay, okay,
So you get the
okay.
point, though. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's The Witcher 3.
Beautiful. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, the subtitle.
Yes, yes. Okay.
All right, we're snaking back to you.
Swanee.
Smitty.
For my number 9,
Swanee.
and I forgot, I actually do have some props here. So the one I forgot to do was the Mass Effect 360 box.
Oh,
there.
yeah.
The next one also has a prop, which is Super Mario 64.
Very good.
Which-
Is it in a special sealed box thing?
Yeah, I've got all my 64 things in this little plastic cases you can get off eBay. In years gone by, this would have placed a bit higher, but just, over time, games jump ahead, and this is one of the ones that drops a bit. But yeah, Mario 64, look, what more can be said about Mario 64 that people haven't said before? It's obviously one of the most revolutionary games of all time in terms of 3D games, especially in the console space. I played through this game more times than I can count. I think I was looking at all the games on my list, and I think all of them bar one, I've beaten like at least 6 times. I think
Wow.
Mario 64 I've probably beaten over 20. Like, I love this game so much. And like, I got to the point where I was also trying to get the high scores for the possible amount of gold coins you can get in every single stage. And like, it's just ingrained in my head. Like, I remember everything about every level, all the stars. And, camera like issues aside, I think the game still holds up.
Oh, yeah,
you
definitely.
You do have to get used to obviously not having the freeform camera. To me, it's my favorite 3D platformer. So I think it's absolutely awesome. And yeah, Super Mario 64 is number 9 for me.
I do find, I feel like this game does not get enough credit for going from a franchise that is like lauded, massive, 2D platformer, Super Mario Brothers, Mario Brothers 2, 3, Super Mario World, asterisk Yoshi's Island, not really a Mario game. And then to jump from Mario World to Mario 64 and to not just to me, when he stick the landing, kind of like set the standard of what to do in 3D, how things should work. Because so many other games before that, like the way they were doing 3D was like almost taking from a 2D perspective. You can see like Miyamoto and the crews kind of like thinking around the whole game and how they'll do it. And the game still holds up. It's so crazy. It's like, to me, it's almost like more illustrative that my kids, especially my eldest, who's super young, but he was watching me play Mario 64 as part of the All-Star, 3D release that they did on the Switch. And he loved it, man. I think he actually liked watching that more than Mario Odyssey, right? And it's still like, there's so many like fun little mechanics in the game and the way they've set things out. And it's a game that I start to play and it's like, this is such a nostalgic but awesome game. Like, I genuinely recommend people playing this game, even if they were born after when this game came out.
I tried.
The fact they nailed the movement tech as well, and it's still one of the most popular speedrunning games just because of the crazy stuff you can do. So
to Intigut's point, I didn't have a 64 during that generation, therefore I never got to experience that game. And I tried playing it recently, like in the last year or something, I forget when I did it. And I have to admit, I couldn't get into it. And I don't know if it's you had to be there at the time to really get into it, or whether I'm an exception and most people that actually pick this game up later in life do enjoy it. But I couldn't get into it. And it's mostly the camera stuff, I think, that kind of did it for me.
And look, those early 3D games, especially 64 and some of the early PlayStation ones, it's always going to be tricky for new people to go to those games. This whole list is going to be nostalgia.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
you
of
can't
course, it's
separate that
understandable,
from
yeah.
from the.
The only thing I'd say is I don't think is there a 3D platformer game that you do like, Mike? Because I don't understand
Yeah.
that as a genre. If someone doesn't, what 3D platformer do you like?
No, I'm just trying to think of some of the big ones specifically. And by the way, don't get me wrong. I can tell it's a solid game. I can tell it's a really enjoyable experience. I just struggled to jump into it now just because of how clunky it felt by the standards of what I'm used to for those type of games. But if
Okay.
you actually played it and you went through the evolution of those type of games, it's a totally different story. And it's one of those games that to this day, I don't regret it or anything, but I wish I played it in the day, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I could easily have gone, given the scope of the game and the gameplay and everything else, that if I had played it in the day, probably would have been in my top 10. I could easily see that.
And it's hard, Swinny, to really like capture that because I think look, my prediction is this that we'll have a cloud-based native game in the future, and I'm hoping this is a year or two away, right? But I'm guessing there'll be a cloud-based native game that comes out that fully takes advantage of the cloud and has some kind of crazy immersive world with like 100,000 interactive people like at the same time, and it's like gonna blow everyone's minds away, right? I'm sure that game's gonna come out, but I just feel that like when we were kids, Swinny, there was so many games coming out where it was like, holy shit, like the jumps were like enormous. Like 2600 to Super Mario Brothers was like, what the fuck? This looks amazing. And then Super Mario Brothers to 3 and then to World. And with this game, Swinny, like I was fortunate enough, I've said fortunate so many times in this podcast, I was fortunate enough to play this at a convention in Australia that I went to. And it was like, I think 2 years or a year and a half before it actually came out in Australia. It was like 95 when I
Whoa,
played
that would
this.
have doubly blown your
And
mind.
I was like playing it. I'm like, this is like the fucking greatest thing that's ever been made by people. Fuck the moon landing. This is like, it's just, I don't know. It's still, this is one of the few games that to me is like so stuck in my head. But Swinny, we're snaking back to you. So you're number 8.
So my number 8, and a game you probably might have thought may have placed higher, but it is Final Fantasy
Ooh,
9.
your favorite Final Fantasy.
Number 9. Yeah, I
It
do
is
know it's
my-
his favorite. Yeah.
It is my favorite Final Fantasy game. Final Fantasy 9 is just a game that just brings me so much joy to play. It's just the world, just the vibe, like the vibe it gives me. It's just something so special about it. And just like all the other Final Fantasy games, like there's parts of the game I can point at and go, that part's a bit shit. But the overall thing and just the characters, and I just love Final Fantasy 9. And its battle system's probably, like, it's not my favorite Final Fantasy battle system, but it's probably my favorite of that PlayStation trio. I just think it just nails what it's going for. I think, there's some parts you can point at graphically where it was even rough when it released, because they kind of did feel like they're downscaled a bit from the character models in number 8 and everything like that. But the scope of what they did with everything else. But it's just got that Final Fantasy charm, and it has got it in spades, and it is easily my favorite Final Fantasy game. Final Fantasy 9.
That's
At
awesome.
number 8, not number 9.
Yeah. Did I say number 9?
No, I was just...
No,
I was just
said
saying
number
that.
8.
Oh, 9 at 8. Yeah, okay. All right, Mike, your
Cool.
number 8 game.
My number 8 is Diablo, the original.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Slightly controversial because most people, I think, say number 2 is the better of the games, and it's definitely the game that they enjoyed the most. And I played number 2 to death.
Well, they're
as
officially wrong now. They're officially wrong.
Absolutely wrong. No, number two is excellent. I loved number 1 2 bits. I remember playing the demo of it on before it came out officially, and the reason why I think I also included it is just the impact it's had, for better or worse, as a genre, or as a game that defined a whole bunch of other games that came after it. And I'm not talking about just the Diablo series itself, but you can kind of maybe argue that a bunch of other games kind of got inspired from that type of action RPG gameplay. But Diablo itself was fantastic. I remember when I first moved to Australia, the game was already out, but I remember having the booklet for it and just some of the artwork and stuff in it. It wasn't anything amazing in terms of like the detail or anything, but I just remember having the booklet and the number of times I went through it because I couldn't play PC at the time because we didn't have one because we couldn't afford one yet. Just little things like that. It's just etched in my memory. So
Such a visceral game at the time as well. Like, I'd never played a game. Well, I think when I was playing Diablo for the first time and got to like the butcher
yes,
and got to that room where the butcher's got all his
meat.
and I'm like, oh my god! Like, I'd never played a game that had that kind of visceral art design. It's kind of wild. A fantastic game.
It's also like shows how much things have changed because what is it? It's like it ran at 20 frames per second, locked in, I think, from memory. Diablo
Seems
1.
about right from memory, yeah.
Which is so funny now.
Which
like,
at the
when you
time
think
it's
about
like, yeah,
stuff.
whatever. It's amazing. You didn't think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like Mario 64, although in my head it runs at 60 because it's so smooth, that also runs at 30, Swinny, like a locked 30, which would have been 25 for us in Australia. Which doesn't, but it was so solid that it never felt bad. And I think Diablo is a little bit the same. It's sort of got
But I
that
also-
jankiness that's like quite solid, so it doesn't actually feel dodgy.
It does, but I feel like isometric sprite-based games can get away with that a lot easier. They don't
Yeah.
need to be 60. They can get away with it. Whereas a 3D game needs the frames to
Yeah,
really function
yeah.
properly.
Yeah, but at the time, like,
didn't
you
know any
weren't
better.
used to 3D 60 frames.
No.
You were just excited there were polygons on your screen, you know?
Yeah,
Pretty
exactly.
much, yeah.
Exactly.
Ooh,
Nice.
polygons.
Nice. So my number 8 game is Doom.
Doom.
So I won't dox the people like Mike has been doing all the show, but there was a friend that I had at primary school, and I would have played this game. What would I have been, like 10 or something, or 11? And when
Age
I
appropriate?
went to his house to play it, and he had it booting. And by the way, I'd played Wolfenstein 3D. And as I said to to you guys on the show before, I actually wrote to id Software back then to get Spear of Destiny, and they sent it from Texas,
Haha, sick.
right? So I wish, I don't know, I got to double check if I've got the actual, because I remember getting it, and it was pretty much handwritten and done by them, right? So I should actually check that out. That's a pretty cool piece of
I'd
nostalgia.
love to know, like, if it was actually a known name that actually did it as well for you.
Yeah, no,
Or if
that's
it was
what I
just
want to
like
double check. Yeah,
A secretary
Like
or something.
Adrian
like John
Carmack or
Romero
something like that.
yeah.
It's like, what the
Yeah.
hell, or the id mom at the time or whatever.
Sure, man. Here you go.
But that is also the context for me, because like even going to this game fresh is like mind blowing. But I had good context. Like Wolfenstein 3D was amazing to me, and I was debating about putting it on the list. But I have to admit, like when I first played Doom and I saw Doom, I was like, holy shit! Like the
Yeah.
marriage of art design, music, just the little enhancements that Doom has over Wolfenstein 3D, just making it feel more real. Like back then, an innovation is like, oh, things aren't grid based, right? So like you can have the the layout on a slightly like whatever you want. You still can't look up and down, right? But man, Doom was like so mental. I was toying with Doom or Doom 2. I don't think, to me, Doom 2 did enough different to warrant me to put it in. I think a lot of people would put Doom 2 because Doom 2 was a retail release. Doom was like this shareware, like very old school, like methodology of like distribution. But I played Doom to death. And that game is amazing in the sense of like, the whole feel of it, the art, the music. But it just ran on a dog shit 286 even, or 386. And man, when I played that freaking game, I loved it. I still love it today. And I feel like it's still so playable. Like I'll
You
go
can
back and play it.
I have, yeah.
And it's
Even on
so
Switch
good.
and stuff. It's totally
Yeah.
playable. It's amazing.
And a little bit like Skyrim before Skyrim, the amount of mods that you can have with Doom. Like I remember the Alien mod back in the day. And now when you have stuff like Brutal Doom, I don't know if you guys have played Brutal Doom.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
I haven't
so
played it. I
fucking
know
cool.
what
It's
it
so,
is. Yeah,
it's dude, it's so, it actually just gives life to it again. So yeah, Doom is my number 8 game. Do you guys have any comments, or I'll move on?
I totally. This again. This was another one that was close to my top 10, and I was thinking, shit, I should put it in my top 10 just because it defined again so many other games, and I just have so many fond memories of it.
Yeah. No, fair enough.
But glad you put it.
I love Doom so much that I even love the SNES version. That's my comment.
Yeah, and the SNES versions, it is actually amazing to get that running like as well as they did. So snaking around to me, so number 7. Number 7 is Street Fighter 2, but I've put in like Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo because that is now the definitive version. It's the version that everyone plays. Specifically, the Japanese version is one that everyone plays competitively. Man, another game, and like, you know, like so far all these games, I think like 98 is the latest version, but we're old and these are like, you know, when we were kids. But man, holy shit, like I played arcade games when I was a little kid, but when Street Fighter 2 specifically came out in the arcades in like 91, 92 in Australia, and like I saw that for the first time, I was like, holy fucking shit, this looks like the greatest game of all time. Like the sprite work, the art, and then just the feel, the game feel. And it still holds up. People still play competitively Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo to this day. And I still play it from time to time. It's just such an awesome game, all the way from the original incarnation in Street Fighter 2 through Turbo. You know, Swinny had Turbo. I had Super Street Fighter 2 on SNES. I'll concede. I think Turbo's better, Swinny. I would never admit that at the time because I own the the Super. And back then, dude, those cartridges were super expensive. Like equivalent money, they were like about $140, Mike, to get like a SNES cartridge.
About what the current RRP is almost for PlayStation 5 games.
Oh yeah, true, yeah, shit. But I never
Not quite,
paid that
it
much.
still-
But
it still
yeah,
feels-
that's true actually.
Plus,
yeah.
you know, you were like 12 or something, right?
Yeah.
The big difference as well is they didn't get cheap very often.
Well, they never got
days.
cheap. And then the other thing about it, Swinny, is like you'd buy this, and this was, well, at least for me, this is like the game that you play for the year. There's no other new game,
Yeah.
right? But what a game,
thankfully,
though.
it's a replayable game.
Yeah. Like one of my other really close mates, like we used to play this religiously, right? And I remember when I turned when I would have turned 13, I think it was, we had a Street Fighter competition. I don't know if you remember this, Swinny.
No, I remember.
Yeah.
it.
It was like a whole
finals, you bastard.
Yeah, we had a whole bracket, and then I won it, right, Swinny? Yeah,
Yeah,
I won
you
it,
beat
right?
me in the finals. You
And
bastard.
like it was kind of almost amazing. Like out of all the friends, and then we had it all bracketed out, and then I actually won it in the end. So Swinny, I actually list that as a joke of like my greatest accomplishment at work whenever I get asked.
Street Fighter tournament.
Maybe I should.
Champion.
Maybe I should put winning a Dr. Mario tournament on my resume.
You should. I think it always gives people a good laugh. But yeah, like I love this game so much. I think it's like so cool. And yeah, like it's my 7th best game of all time.
Nice.
All right, Mike, on to you.
Cool, number 7, and coincidentally, also number 7 is Final Fantasy 7.
Oh, yeah.
That makes it in spot number 7. Now,
Is it the OG?
the OG,
Okay, yeah,
absolutely.
cool.
So the OG that I played on PlayStation when it came out on PlayStation, and you know, by today's standards, it's funny now that people complain about, oh my god, I'm not getting my 360 frames per second on my 4K monitor, bro. What the fuck's going on? These developers are shit, bro. I played this game on a 34 fucking not inch, 34 centimeter TV. Like that's probably about. Yes, it's about this big. This is it. This is the size of the TV that I played this game on. The entire fucking game. And you know what? It was amazing. And it's one of the greatest gaming experiences I ever had. It just goes to show that all of this superficial, crazy, amazing, high definition bullshit is just bullshit in the end. That you can enjoy yourself and have fun with much more. Well, actually, I wouldn't call Final Fantasy VII simple, because back in those days, it was actually pretty mind-blowingly cool. The CGI in it was just amazing. The cutscenes were superb. The way they got integrated into the actual game itself, that was pretty revolutionary, I think, back in the day for those kind of games. And look, it's not everyone's favorite Final Fantasy, and maybe at the same time, it's also a bit of a cliche because a lot of people do have it as their favorite. And I did play the rest of them, but nothing quite holds the memory the same way that Final Fantasy did. And again, there's a filter of nostalgia there just because of the time in my life that I played those games.
I even love that you use the term CGI, which is like very of the
use
era.
that,
Yeah, it's very of the era. Nice. I still can never get into Final Fantasy VII. This is my Super Mario 64 game because I didn't play this. I was a Nintendo.
Yeah.
In a way, like I've always kind of been a Nintendo devotee, right? So
Yes.
Final Fantasy VII is like, I would definitely say one of the most important video games of all time because it really did show it kind of was almost like the end of the dominance of Nintendo as well, to a degree, in the West. given that, you know, they went with cartridge instead of CD, and then, you know, Square went across, back then it was actually Square, went across to PlayStation, and so we didn't get it. It's on the 64, and just so many things that it sort of marked. And you're right, like all the integrated, like, and it looks so much better on a CRT, like the, you know, the TVs at the time, but the integrated sort of like video footage, like CGI generated, and then in-game, and then you've got like the in-game high quality images with the 3D models over the top. It was really cool the way they did it, but just a game that I could never get into. I might just skip to the remake, honestly, and be that person.
Though.
I know,
I mean,
I know it's different, but
it's so different.
I just can't get into. I've played a lot of like Final Fantasy VII, like 15 hours, and I'm like, I just can't get into this game. But Swinny, what is your number 7 game?
Well, I've got a pair of bangers because I'm doing 7 and 6.
Yeah, you're doing 7.
These are two big names.
Big hitters, are they?
Number 7 is Yoshi's Island.
Oh, yes.
So we talked about a lot about Yoshi's Island on this show. You can check a whole segment we did for our Game of Summer Year 1995, which unfortunately we didn't wrap up. But
we can still wrap it up one day.
we did a whole segment on Yoshi's Island, so I'm not going to kind of spend too long on it. But
spend time on it.
It is, to me, a masterclass of a 2D platformer. It is also just a masterclass of like 16-bit kind of like era in general, because it came at the tail end of the Super Nintendo's lifespan, but just what they got out of the system with, and not just like technically, but just like the art direction with, you know, the whole crayon style and everything.
Yeah.
But it looks amazing. It sounds great, other than Mario crying. And it just feels like the controls feel so right. Like there've been a bunch of Yoshi games since. I've never it's never felt right. To me, they nailed it on the first one, and they've haven't been able to repeat it since. I love Yoshi's Island. I never owned it in Intergot. You would always lend me your copy, and I would sit there and just speed run the game, or speed run it in my terms, play through the game and 100% it over and over and over again. That's how much I loved it, and it's one of those games where I can just go back to as a comfort game, and just like I'll sit down and play through at least 3 worlds in one sitting because I just love it so much.
Awesome.
It's like a fascinating game on so many levels. Like, just the game itself is freaking amazing and awesome, right? But just like the context of the game is so interesting to me as well. Like, obviously they wanted to make a sequel to Super Mario World, and that sort of just never eventuated, right? And it did get titled as Super Mario World 2 in Australia and like Europe and America. It's not called that in Japan, and it's not Super Mario World 2. It's really not, right? But it's so interesting because Miyamoto, who back then was like super driver at Nintendo, you know, he was almost like Nintendo back then in terms of like where they were going, what they were doing with their games. You know, he was affected by Donkey Kong Country and the style of graphics that were coming out of that game, but he was almost like a dickhead about it, and was like, what can I do that's the opposite of Donkey Kong Country, which was like 3D rendered graphics, all this kind of stuff. And he went down this path of this crayon style. It made the team go down this path of a crayon style that it looks incredible. Like, it's really unfortunate because like I don't know what's going to happen in the future with this, right? But CRTs are just like dying like all the time, right? And if you look at this game rendered on an old school Trinitron consumer TV, it looks freaking insane. It looks like, I don't know, man. To me, and maybe this is nostalgia, but it looks like better in a way than a lot of modern games.
It's not nostalgia. There's this. I was reading about this. There's actually a physical reason. It's the way the pixels get displayed on CRTs and the dithering effect, and that it actually ends up looking better than seeing the real pixels if you were to see the pixels on a
No, but I'm saying
LCD.
that just the way it looks, to me, looks better than like God of War Ragnarok, right? This is where I'm coming from, right? Because the thing is, like, with God of War Ragnarok, it's not photorealistic, right? Whereas this is just art, and this is where, you know, other games as well, like Celeste, for instance, right, just compete in a different way because it's very specific to its own self, right? And I know that it shouldn't matter, but this game holds up so strongly. Like, when I got my SNES Classic, I'm like, cool, I'm going to play all these games, And what did I do? I remember telling you, Swinny, I like booted up Yoshi's Island, and I just like 100%ed it. Like all the hard levels, the secret levels, that fucking monkey level that I hate in World 3, is it, from memory? Or maybe I'm wrong with it's World 3, right? The monkey level, the extra.
It's either 3 or 4.
I think it's 3. It's brutal, that fucking level. It's just such a cool game. And it's another game that is still like, people do speed runs on all the time. And it's because it's like holds up mechanically. And you're right. Like, as opposed to, I think, Mario, where there's a lot of great Mario platformers, Yoshi's Island is so much head and shoulders above every other Yoshi game in that series. It's like almost laughable how much better it is than all. Like, nothing comes close.
It's like, what the hell were they on when they made this? You know, like, they clearly were on some performance enhancer that they've been able to repeat, you know?
But I think that does show, because that was EAD, like Nintendo EAD, right? And I don't think, I'm just checking the wiki now. Oh no, they made Yoshi's Story. Interesting. And that was it. I don't think they made another Yoshi game.
Can we do our top 10 most disappointing games?
Yeah,
disappointing.
that would be up there.
I was thinking the other day just about this whole thing about, like, I'm not going to get too deep on the philosophical discussion about the way society is progressing and whether it's heading in a positive way or a negative way, all that bullshit. But one thing I can confidently say is car design, for instance, or game design, that kind of stuff. It's not necessarily that, hey, it keeps improving and getting better and whatnot. In some ways, maybe. In certain ways, sure. But then, for example, the other day I was at a petrol station and the guy had an RX-7. I think it was like a 2000
I love
model.
RX-7s, yeah.
Dude, there's some of the... I wish I could buy one. I wish they still made those. I wish there was a way, like, with remakes or whatever, to just literally give me the same fucking car. I don't want the new bullshit that's coming out. Yeah, okay, it's safer or whatever. It's got bells and whistles. I don't give a fuck about any of that. Give me that exact car. I would love that exact car. It's like it's reached. That was the pinnacle of fucking car making, man.
I don't know
Awesome
what the point
to drive,
is, but
looked amazing.
I do like the
point
RX-7.
the point is, it's the same as this kind of stuff. Like, I'm not saying that the peak of gaming reached its height at a certain thing, but there were certain games that the people worked together in such a good way that they just made a fucking timeless gem that you will possibly never ever fucking be able to do again. You don't have the same people in the same environment in the same time where, you know, rules work the way they do, pixel art worked the way it did. Everything came together just perfectly to create that amazing gem, that amazing piece of art, whether it's Yoshi's Island that we're talking about or whether it's an RX-7. And they're both amazing pieces of art in my opinion. And I reckon you just can't replicate stuff like that. And future games will be shit in comparison, I reckon, because you're never going to get that synthesis of fucking people just making something so perfect.
The only thing I'll say to that is, like, there are a lot of really great indie studios that churn out awesome 2D games. But I do understand the point around, like, you probably won't get a AAA game in that genre, right? Because they just won't make money doing that.
Or if you
right?
do, it ends up like New Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, which is annoying. So, yeah. I think you're up to number 6, right?
Yes, and I said this was also a banger, and my number 6 is Super Metroid.
Oh, Super Metroid.
So I will say, so far, no repeats on any of that list.
Yeah.
Which is
I know, it's good.
interesting.
It's a good list. You know,
There might
so
be some coming up. But yeah.
behind the scenes, we were debating about, because I think this does work a lot better if we're doing a top 10 of the year. That if someone says, oh, Mass Effect, if someone else has it on their list, it's like, okay, we'll cover it later, right? And talk about it later. But I don't think we'll have that much crossover. Having said that, we'll probably only have crossover from now on.
Look, I don't think it's the last time I'm probably going to hear about Super Metroid.
What's Mass Effect?
Hey, I had to make some brutal
What's
decisions,
Super
boys.
Metroid?
I had to make some brutal decisions. Shadow Complex.
Look, Super Metroid is just amazing. I remember reading about it for the first time. I'd never heard of the Metroid series. I was reading about it when I lived in the UK as a kid in, like, it was like Total Magazine or Super Play or something. And I'm like, what is this Nintendo game I've never heard of that everyone's talking about? Super Metroid. And it looked so cool. It didn't look as flashy as other games. I'm like, but they're saying how good it is. And when I finally got to play it, I'm like, okay, now I understand. This is why everyone was talking about Super Metroid. It's also like, it didn't create the concept of like a Metroid or a Metroidvania, but it is the game that spearheaded basically the genre. Like when you've got people like indie developers and everything, oh, this game, they don't say this game is based on, like, I'm creating it based on Metroid. They go, oh, I'm influenced by Super Metroid.
Yeah,
it's always
yeah.
Super Metroid. And it's basically, you know, like, it's like the Dark Souls of the Demon Souls and everything, you know.
That's a good analysis, actually. Yeah, yeah.
And
that's true.
it's just the atmosphere. Like, this is a 16-bit game, but they managed to create such atmosphere from the music and the level design, and you just honestly feel like, especially the first time you ever played it, you're like, it's like this dread, you know, Metro Dread, but it's basically like this impending thing that you just don't know what's going to happen, this mysterious world. It plays awesome. The map design is fantastic. It's just an all-together amazing game, Super Metro.
And very like cinematic from the start, right? Like with the countdown and everything like that. Like almost the shades of Metal Gear Solid. I actually just let it sink in that you've got this ranked above Yoshi's Island. That kind of shocks me, actually, I gotta say.
Oh, look, in the past, Super Metroid may have even been higher, you know?
Wow,
So,
okay.
Yeah, but
I think-
Super Metroid is another one of those games where if I start playing it, I just don't stop.
Yeah, it's such a great game.
You can't. Yeah, I think I played not in one go, obviously, but I played it later in life, and unlike what I said about Super Mario 64, this thing to me holds the test of time.
Yeah.
It still captivated me to this day, and it's such an old game now, and you can tell how influential it is, and how awesome of a game it is, given I played all these other games that came out much later that improved on the formula so much, yet the original still holds the test of time for someone who never played it originally.
It's almost a bit of a Godfather Part 2 kind of thing to Super Metroid, where it's like you can imitate it or do something or riff off it, Goodfellas and all this other stuff, but it's the OG is still so strong. This is like a reverse of the Yoshi's Island situation. I only ever played this. I don't think I've ever owned a copy of Super Metroid. Right, I borrowed your copy. It's kind of crazy to think
awesome.
that.
I'm still annoyed that I don't have my copy anymore because
It's not because of me. It's not because of me.
No,
but
I lent it to someone and they lent me Madden 93 and then they left.
That is like
Okay.
as brutal. As much as we used to play Madden 93 a lot, that is so brutal. Right?
I was not happy.
What's Madden
It ruined my
93?
childhood.
You know what? I'm just like really quickly checking. I'm looking at Madden 93 on the SNES. How much that's trading for on eBay? Okay, like $26, and then Super Metroid on the SNES is trading for like $300.
Holy moly.
Nah, you can get it loose for like 140 or something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, Super Metroid's amazing. Fuck that.
Still
game's so
fucking got Madden 93.
cool. That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Cherish it.
All right, your number 6, Mike. As
Cool
we snake
bananas.
around.
Okay, so after some hard deliberation, number 6 is Duke Nukem 3D.
Oh, nice.
It was originally ranked higher, but I think number 6 is about right. Lots of stories. I think you've heard a whole bunch of things that I've spoken about the game, but a few recaps. Loved not just the game itself, not just the strippers in the game, which as a 12, 13-year-old was amazing. More so, I remember when I
Never
first played it at a
changed,
mate's
Mike, never
place.
changed.
I don't give
No,
a
no.
shit. I don't care. I like boobs, whatever.
No, but I do understand. Like, we were like 12, 13 at the time, right?
As
It's
a 12, 13-year-old kid, this
titillating.
was
Very titillating.
amazing.
Yeah.
It was
This was
absolutely amazing.
before easy access to the internet.
Yeah.
This was way before easy. I didn't even know the internet existed when this game came out.
No, we
I
knew
legit
the
didn't.
internet existed, but it
I
wasn't.
didn't.
Like,
I didn't. I actually didn't know that. I should
okay,
not.
okay.
I didn't know about the internet. We didn't have the internet or anything at
You're in
home
New
for
Zealand at the time, right?
ages. Yeah. Did they even have that? They just had sheep.
Yeah, no, they had World Wide Web, but yeah.
Of course they had it. I just wasn't exposed to
No,
it. At
dude,
the
but the
time.
World Wide Web was just started. Just a few
Yeah.
years after,
Well,
just
yeah,
before,
yeah,
which is how
exactly.
old we are.
this
We
is-
remember when the web got
Yeah.
invented.
So, and I remember playing it at a mate's place. I'm like, oh my god, I need a copy of this. So I went out. I saved all my pocket money that I could possibly save, and I went to the shop. And I bought myself a copy. And I remember the guy going, "Are you 15?" I'm like, "Absolutely, I am 15." And lucky for me, I look slightly older for my age.
That's true,
So
you do,
13,
yeah.
15, close enough. It was fine. Got home, booted it up. No titties. I'm like,
Oh my
what the
God.
hell
I knew
is
you were
this
gonna go
shit? What is going on here? I worked so hard. All this pocket money that I saved, where are they? Anyway, I ended up calling up the local distributor, asking why there aren't any and what's wrong with my game. And they're like, oh yeah, you just need the adult patch, we'll send it to you. Without even questioning, without even asking how old I was or anything like that, they sent me a floppy disk with the patch.
They sold you. Did you actually have to buy it?
Sent it to me. They didn't.
Oh,
They didn't.
Wow,
they just
that's
sent it to
awesome.
me. Yeah, they sent it to me. I remember it was like in just like a cardboard, just like a cardboard envelope thing. With the
I was going to say,
floppy disk in
Mike,
it.
that floppy disk turned your disk non-floppy.
Not what are you finest?
I don't know. It kind of was like it was almost there. I didn't really want to go as hard as I was going to go in that.
Oh,
thing.
I went pretty hard. So
I was going to say your floppy disk turned into a hard disk, but
so everything about the game, just all those jokes aside about strippers and whatnot aside, it was a solid game. Gameplay was amazing. Graphics were pretty cool for the time. It wasn't really that long after Doom came out, but I think it improved the graphics quite a bit. We all know the stories about how I got banned from using computers in Year 9 because I distributed the game on multiple machines. It wasn't even me. The Year 10 stole my disc and then ended up putting it on a bunch of other machines, and I wasn't allowed to use the computers for like the rest of the year.
Even in computer class.
I know. Yeah, I wasn't allowed to use the computers in computer class.
Absolute failure of the Australian high school
I know, what the
education.
heck, man? Yeah. Well, fuck you. I got a computer science degree after that. And then also just little things about it that I thought were amazing, which was the build editor. I remember I spent countless hours, and Joe, one of our avid listeners, had also spent quite a bit of time making their own maps and stuff in the build editor, and it was just sick to actually create your own shit in that game. It was really, really cool. So yeah, Duke Nukem 3D, love that game to bits.
it's an awesome game. It also I do love the art in the game and the character designs, the alien designs. There's not like a huge amount of variations, but it's very cool. And there's still some lines in that game that are still so notable, like when you beat the first boss and stuff like that. My son saw a bit of Duke Nukem 3D and he loves it.
No.
He loves it. He loves like the character and stuff. It is one of the few things I think you could reboot it. And then also, Swinny, hey, it's quite funny. Like if you think about the lore of the show, that the people who are behind Duke Nukem 3D reached out to us and commented on our video. So could you imagine that, Mike, that you're going to have a show where the guy, Scott Miller, one of the main guys behind it, actually is engaging with you in your content? That's kinda
Never would have imagined that when I first saw the game.
Awesome
Hell no.
pick, Mike. And I just want to give a special shout out to the great 64 version as well. Really, really cool version.
I was going to say that as well. Like, I borrowed that. This is back in the day when you go to the like a movie rental store and you can borrow games. We borrowed that for one day and played through it over. Like, we didn't sleep. We just kept playing the whole freaking thing. It was very cool.
All hail the explosive shotgun shells you can kill someone from the other side of a stadium with.
Yeah, that was so cool, that game. That was so cool. And a great, like, LAN party game.
Oh,
All right,
yeah.
my number
School end party in computer class.
Yeah, exactly. My number 6 is, and this is where it's getting really tough for me in terms of picking, is Mario Kart DS.
Ooh, yes.
Somewhat of a controversial pick. Now, I could have gone Super Mario Kart or honestly Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which is probably the definitive version, and I'd probably recommend it to people, but Mario Kart DS has a lot of nostalgia for me. I played this game to death. So this was when I was at uni, this game came out, and I just played this religiously. And I was so fucking good at this game. Like, it was disgusting.
You're absolutely just a nutter at this game.
Yeah, I am like, this is like, I think the game I'm best at. Now, I don't know how good I am now, but this game has multiplayer. And it was like, I think this was a really fun version of multiplayer where you could just play and it would sense that people are around and you could play. Like,
Wow,
it was
that's
very
really
easy.
cool. Yep.
So I would play this, and this is back when I lived in Melbourne, and I'd just bump into people on the train who have it. And no one ever fucking came close. Like, it was like embarrassing. I would fucking like lap them. Like, I could snake, I could do everything. And this is why I say it's a bit
So
controversial. No, I'm just being real. But like, the snaking in this game broke the game completely. Like, absolutely broke the mechanic of the game. And I'm glad that the games like have fixed that and they don't have that anymore.
Can you elaborate?
So
I didn't play that.
snaking. So in Mario Kart, the biggest part of Mario Kart is like the cool mechanic I think of Mario Kart is the power drift mechanic. So it's usually LRR, and you kind of do a little bit of hop and you can drift into a corner, right? Very much inspired by like drifting of cars in Tokyo, like in Japan, right? Like that's where the devs literally got it from, right? Now, the thing is, when you drift, you get a little bit of a boost. And in all the Mario Kart games that came before and after, you kind of can do the drift, but then you can't follow it up with another drift that easily, right? But with Mario Kart DS, it was a bit broken. So you could actually drift into another drift. So you could just keep drifting. So you're going left and right as long as you're going
on a straight.
And I got so good at it. I could play this legit as well, by the way, like just like no drifting at all, like just around the corners and be like pretty much unbeatable. But once I started doing the snaking drifting, I was so good at it. It was crazy. And then I was like, I would beat all the staff ghosts. Like the other thing is like the thing I love about Mario Kart DS is, you know, it had really cool like battle systems, time trials, it had like lots of really cool extras that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe doesn't have, in my opinion. But the thing I love the most was like you could time trial all the levels, and if you got good enough, you could actually start competing against the staff ghosts. So I had, you know, went through that and I'm like, oh, and they're legit. Like they're not even like joking. Like they're really good. And I beat all of those ones as well. But Mario Kart DS is my favorite. I was really close on a few other ones. And Mario Kart 64 is a huge shout out because that one has the best battle mode. And it's a shame that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe doesn't have a good battle mode. Like that is still shocking to me that they have never fixed that. So I'm hopeful for Mario Kart 9 that they put a really good battle mode in. And I think it would take it to another level.
Yeah, awesome. It's also the first Mario Kart game where they started adding older tracks in as throwbacks, and it kind of continued that trend.
Yeah.
So Mario Kart DS is awesome.
Yeah, I'm super nostalgic for it. And another game, now that we're snaking around, so my number 5 that I'm very nostalgic for, and this also...
Drift snaking around?
This was a very, very hard pick, given that I'm trying to stick to like one game per series, is Super Mario Brothers 3. So... I could have gone lots of different ways with this one. And this is when I was talking about the games that I clocked. So I 100%ed Super Mario Brothers 3 this week. Man, this game is so fucking cool. Like, this game is so inventive, so amazing for a game that came out in like 1988. Like, it's actually crazy to me when I look back at this. And this is following off their massive hit of Super Mario Brothers. Obviously, Mario Brothers 2, blah, blah, blah. It's like another game and they, you know, reskinned it and all this other stuff. But this game just introduced so many cool ideas, mechanics, you know, power-ups that are still iconic to this day. And I've also played a lot. I played through maybe half of Super Mario World, which is like close on this list, and a few other games that were very close to me to getting there. But I must admit, I just like have to go back to the fact that Super Mario Brothers 3, I was looking forward to getting this game so much for like years. Because it came out in Japan in 88, and I think it was like 1990 in Australia. And I was like looking forward to it for like 2 years. And when it finally came out, like, and I'll admit this, and I feel bad about it, but like I got this game for Christmas. So it would have been like 1990 Christmas. And I was like so excited about it. I'm like, I want to find out if my parents actually got this game or not. Right. So I'm like hunting through the house, like breaking into the rooms and stuff, trying to find stuff, and I actually found a copy of it. And I was so happy. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to get this for Christmas. I'm like so excited. But then it was like painful because I'm like, oh my God, I have to wait all the way to Christmas to play this. But yeah, I played this game to death. I loved it. I was so obsessed about this game, Mike, that we had a Nintendo magazine in Australia called Nintendo Magazine System. That I found all the warp whistles, all the secrets, all the stuff you could do, and wrote into the magazine. And my name's published in the magazine.
Sick.
With like, you know, as with a few other people, like as soon as I could. It was like the next issue, right? Like, oh, you know, this person found all these secrets and all this other stuff, and this is how you do it, and this level and all that stuff. Yeah, I just love this game so much, man. And having played it again this week, and also, by the way, I should shout out. So I played it on the Analog Pocket. I could have played the NES version, the NES version, but I actually was like, I'm going to stop being so stuck up. I was always really stuck up about the Game Boy Advance versions and the remakes of the games. I'm like, all right, I'm going to shut up and just like play those versions for once in my life, right? and they're very good. I'll eat crow. It's like they're very good. And the thing I love about the Game Boy Advance versions, there was actually an e-reader thing where it actually had more levels for Super Mario Brothers 3. And they're very fun levels. Like, they're a bit gimmicky, but they're fun. And it's made by the original people that made the levels. So it just felt like a little mini DLC pack for Super Mario Brothers 3, right? From like 88. So that's my fifth. Mike, what is your fifth?
So my fifth is GTA San Andreas.
Wow.
That's
Now,
actually surprising.
many different choices of GTAs, and I have played them all to death. From the very original GTA, the PlayStation version of it, GTA 2, etc. I remember when we used to mod GTA, the original GTA, and put our own cars into it and stuff to put real world cars with real world names and everything. But ultimately, there has to be one that kind of defined the rest for me, or that stood out the most, and it's got to be GTA San Andreas. Multitude of reasons. The scope of the game was quite big, even by today's standards. It had certain things in it that modern games don't do, like you had to eat, and if you exercise too much, you could get buff, but you could also lose weight if you didn't eat, or you could get too fat.
Oh, really?
Like all these little, it had these cool little mechanics.
So overboard with San Andreas.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So super overboard. And the map design was awesome as well, because it had such varied landscapes. It had the main city bit, it had the hood bit, it had the desert area with the military base and all this other stuff. And I thought at the time it was just amazing. And some of the when you think back to your childhood and you can remember a specific moment, I mean literally specific moments of a particular game that you played. And there's a few instances in GTA San Andreas that I clearly remember. Like, I remember driving down the highway and Lynyrd Skynyrd's Freebird was playing. And just that combination of like driving into the sunset while that was playing on the radio, I have not forgotten to this day. I know it's just a game. I know it's just a virtual experience that looks pretty shit by today's standards.
Don't think Freebird was in San Andreas.
Yeah, Freebird was in San Andreas.
No, I think that was... You sure you're not thinking Vice City?
Why do you care? That one's
No, because I literally was on the
sure it
soundtrack
was.
page for San Andreas right this moment, because I was just confirming something about
Just
it.
let him live in his
No,
delusional
well, I'm pretty
reality.
sure it was, man. You know, fucking...
No, no, you know what?
You have to apologize now, Sweaty.
Yeah,
you have to grovel. You have to grovel.
no. I
Grovel.
apologize because I thought Freebird was one word. Apologies.
Wow.
Okay,
No,
two
the
words.
reason I was on
Wow.
there, sorry,
Wow.
You're making me
reason-
question my own reality.
the reason I was on there was because I just want to shout out that they had Faith No More on the soundtrack of San
They
Andreas,
did too as well,
which
yeah,
was
which is really
awesome.
fucking cool. Yes. A really cool soundtrack by today's standard. And just something about that game that kind of it again, it was a game, but it was a game that felt like you could live that in reality. And I remember later in life as an adult, when I could actually drive because I had my own car and whatnot, I actually played that game and drove into the sunset. I played the music and drove into the sunset coincidentally, and it just reminded me of the game so much. And memories like that, I just had to beat. It's
And then you
amazing game.
went and got in a jet plane and ate hamburgers.
Yeah, then I got into a jet plane and then I crashed it, and then
Did you ever play
No,
the
but
hot
it was-
coffee minigame, Mike?
no,
Okay.
no, I don't. I never like. By the time they sort of the whole thing was a big thing, I think I moved on from San Andreas. But you know, again, it's also about the series and what it represents from the series. I actually loved GTA 4. Huge fan of GTA 5, having had it on all the bloody platforms it's ever come at. And you guys know that I bought it multiple times by mistake on PC. It's like, seriously, that launcher is so annoying. But anyway, so yeah, number 5.
Nice.
Solid
Yeah.
there.
I just want to give a big shout out to Joe Jives. I played GTA San Andreas sitting at his place. I played through like a third of the game at his house.
That's awesome.
Fantastic game. All right, so for my number 5, and again, there's been no repeats yet, which is cool.
Wow, has there been no repeats? That's right.
No
Shit,
repeats.
That's
So
amazing.
I know.
Video games are great, people. There's a lot of great games.
Yeah.
My number 5 is a game that I previously had as my favorite game of all time.
Whoa.
At some point in the future, in the past, I should say.
At some point in the future.
Yes, the T1000. No,
Coming up next year.
Deus Ex.
Oh, yeah.
The original
Oh,
Deus
wow.
Ex.
You've changed. Wow. Woo.
Yep.
Original Deus Ex kind of really expanded my understanding of what video games can really be, because when I played it, I think, oh, this is cool. It's a first-person shooter. It's like got a cool look. It was around the time of like Unreal Tournament and stuff like so.
Yeah.
I was playing more PC games and stuff, but the whole immersive sim element where it's like you're in this world, you're talking to characters, and you can pick up items and things that you can pick up stuff you don't even need to pick up, and it's just kind of like creating this immersive world and saying, okay, I'm in this this city block, and there's about 5 different ways I can get into that apartment that I need to get into, and there's other apartments I can go into and find stuff, but they're just there for just if you want to explore. They're not required as part of the story or anything, and it's kind of just. Yeah, so I said, expanding my understanding of the games can't just be like you go to that level, that level, that level. They can create these worlds and these characters and stories. And man, the first time I got to Hong Kong and just the
Spoilers.
the atmosphere in that area, and the fact that you were able to just go anywhere and from that point onwards and find all this cool stuff. Deus Ex is just so special, and I think it's a shame that Invisible War didn't give me the same kind of feeling, but the sequels that Eidos Montreal did were also fantastic. But Deus Ex is my number 5.
I get quick thoughts on that too, if that's okay. Another game that I was struggling not to try to keep in my top 10 as well. I love the original to bits. I don't think, and I don't know if it's again a timing nostalgia thing. If the newer games, they were great games in their own right, it just never hit that same sort of mark. And I don't know if that's because they're inferior games necessarily, or just because Deus Ex was just so revolutionary when it came out. As you said, in terms of the approach to the situation, having multiple, and the story was really mature. The whole Illuminati thing was completely mature at its time. When you had so many games that were so childish in a way, and then you had this game that dealt with global conspiracies and politics and stuff like that. I love this game. So good.
It's also because what is it? System Shock was System Shock kind of the first sim game that really kind of almost established the boundaries of that genre. Yeah, but this game really took it to another level, right?
Yeah, System Shock, the Thief games and stuff, all that stuff from Looking Glass Studio, Warren Spector, Ken, and obviously later Ken Levine stuff and all that stuff as well. But
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of surprised it's not at least in the top 2. But yeah, interesting.
That used to kind of share the number 1 spot for ages as well. So there's just some games that just, I think, are just
pumped it.
Yeah.
Well, 4 games in particular.
And one of them being my number 4.
Yes, yes.
Which is Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater.
Oh, okay. Yeah, interesting.
You didn't mention, you hinted at this one the other week, I think.
So what I said the other week was, it's not my personal favorite game of all time, but it might be something I would put up for the greatest game of all time.
Yeah.
Just because of it nails everything. It goes for so much, and it basically nails everything from gameplay, from story, from presentation, music. It's almost like the perfect game for in my opinion. Obviously I've got some I prefer that are my top 3, but Snake Eater is just so awesome, and it's also such a great contained game. It's obviously incredibly important to the wider Metal Gear Solid and Metal Gear mythos and story, but you can just play Metal Gear Solid 3 because of the way it's set, presented and everything, and when it's set, and it's just a self-contained great game and story. And it's got so many of those Kojima touches and 4-4 breaking things that you're like, how the fuck do you think of that? Stuff that I could talk about for so long, just cool things you're like, this is so cool. And I'll just say, I'm going to say specifically, we don't need to title it, but the subsistence version. So
Yeah,
the
that's
version
what I thought you would say.
yeah, that added all the extra stuff, including, introducing the series to the over-the-shoulder third-person gameplay. I still like the top-down, and I did play it first in the top-down, but I've since replayed this game so many times, and even though I've seen the story so many times, I still watch all the cutscenes every time. Because they're that good. They're that good. So
I'm really looking forward to playing this game. Like, this game is in a similar spot as Bloodborne for me, where it's almost like, can they just do a remake or a remaster, like a proper one?
The HD version runs great.
good,
It looks great.
But I don't think that's on PlayStation 5.
Probably not. It runs on. It's still available on Xbox at least.
No, I'm not going to get an Xbox. But yeah, look, I do actually have it on the PlayStation 3. I think that's like really, a good place to play it. So I don't know. I have heard that they're thinking about bringing it back onto the PS5 from memory. So it's just in a weird spot, these games, where it's like, I want that to happen. And it's like, cool. Like, it's in a format that I can just easily play it without mucking around too much. But yeah, awesome. That's interesting. And yes, like, we're more than halfway through. We have not had a repeat yet. It's incredible.
It's going to get harder to not.
They
have a
might be
repeat.
coming. Yeah,
I think they're coming. Which is also a good note on these games. But Mike, what is your number 4?
Cool. So number 4 is a bit of a left field one, and it probably should be in my top 3, but I'm gonna put it as number 4, and that is Ultima 8.
Okay, we were
You thought it was something else.
No, we were
Ha!
debating which Ultima game.
Okay, number 8. Absolutely number 8. Now, that's only because I didn't get to play number 7 back at the time. I had number 8 as part of a collection that came with Wing Commander 2.
Great game.
It came with
Great
the PC that we had at the time. So it came with Wing Commander 2
You
Syndicate.
would not shut up about this game in high school.
Which
Loved Ultima 8.
Ultima,
dude, it was fucking amazing. I want to play it again. It's a shame it doesn't exist on other platforms. And it's a shame that it was never ported or anything to take advantage of different kinds of controls. So you need a mouse for it. Maybe the Steam Deck is probably the ideal way to do it, because you can kind of... but anyway, this game, for so many reasons, so many fond memories of it. It was one of the first games that I really felt, because it was an open world kind of game, if you could call it that, where it really felt like there was this huge, cool world that I could go and explore and check out. There was no linearity. I mean, the story had certain elements that were quite linear, but you could still explore a whole bunch of places at your own leisure, so to speak. It had, from memory, a day nighttime sort of cycle where certain people were doing certain things during certain times. It was quite gritty and mature in terms of what it presented to the player. And again, it's just the moment in time that I played it, it was just, my brain was just soaking up these kind of ideas and games that it just stuck with me for the rest of my life. So yeah, I love this game. I just wish there was a way to, other than playing it again on PC, obviously, play it on a Switch or some other forms that are a bit more modern. And I would love to see a remake. It's just, unfortunately, it's not not many people consider it at all the best Ultima. I think most people say 7 is the definitive one. Sure. So it's highly unlikely that I'll ever do a remake or anything of this game, which is a shame, because I love the story and love the concepts in it.
I played Ultima 7, but not Ultima 8. I don't believe. It's hard for me to really fully grasp if I have played some of these games, just because they kind of blend together for me in my head. But I guess it's on me, isn't it, boys? Mm-hmm. So number 4, and then it'll snake around to my number 3. So we're getting into our top 3. It's getting
okay.
I actually haven't done the maths on who will do the last one. Swinny will do the last one, number 1. Okay, cool. So my number 4 game, and I probably think you guessed that it will be on my list, is Rocket League.
Wouldn't have thought, never have guessed. I mean, he only put like 3-4 hours into that game, so I'm surprised.
I think the last time I checked, it was like 680 hours or something.
Holy moly.
I'm also surprised you'd put a game that you absolutely suck at on.
Yeah, I know, what the hell?
It's
like me and life, man. I suck at it, but it's still up there.
I am kind of pissed that I was right on the cusp, Swinny, of getting to champ, and then I quit the game. So yeah, Rocket League, I love this game. I think is, to me, the best multiplayer game that's ever been made. I think it's just so pure and simple. I remember Swinny telling me about it. He's like, "Oh, you got to play this Rocket League game. I think you'd like it, right?"
Oh, that was a mistake.
Boy, that was a mistake. So I went from playing this on the Switch, and I put in like 150 hours on the Switch, and I pretty much like, I got to be real, I pretty much almost got like a PC just to play this game, because I'm like, well, I kind of it was the thing that tipped me over. I was like, on a Mac and stuff like that, I'm like, it'd be better on a PC, and yeah, I guess I'll put a PC together. I need it for other reasons, and I played this game religiously. Like every day, I play this for like 2 hours. Like I love this game so much. Got fairly decent at it. One of my greatest gaming moments was how many was it? 3 of you guys or 4 of you guys that I was playing against?
Probably 10 of us.
It was
honestly.
1v3.
Was
Was it Swinny or 1v4? Do you remember?
Probably
I'm not giving
1v3.
you a fucking
I don't-
answer on
Tell
that one.
me. I think it was a 1v4 or 1v3.
Anything more than 1v1 is shameful enough.
Because we went from like me and Swinny playing against each other 1v1 and he would beat me, to like I was playing against Swinny, Mike, one of our. It was 1 or 2 extra people outside of that.
I don't know.
I think it might have been
let's just say
4.
2 extra people. Let's say it was 4 in total.
I think it was 1v4, and I fucking destroyed you guys. It was insane. Even for me, I was like, this is kind of insane. So yeah, I got fairly good at it. The thing is that I do hate the community though on Rocket League. So I turn.
Good thing we're not ranking the community.
Yeah, I would put the community last. It really shits me the way that they organize the community on it. The game is slowly dying as well, which is a bit sad to see. And I will just play it with the chat off. I probably should actually find some people to play it with, and that would be a more enjoyable way to play it. It's just the closest thing to me to sport, Rocket League. It has the strategy. I remember, Swinny, when I was playing with you, and I was driving you nuts. I'm like, turn around, go around, do this, do that. It's like when you play footy or something. Like, you're just constantly like, no, we're going to set up like this. And you're just like, I just want to fucking play this game, dude. Like, just let me do my thing. And I'm like trying to optimize so that we always win. Yeah, what a fucking amazing game, man. And, you know, I'm glad to see it's still existing. It's going to be really interesting to see what they do in the future. But to me, it's like, I just wish the game never would change, actually, because it's just so perfect as it is. All right,
Awesome.
so my number 3.
Now it's getting serious.
It's getting serious, boys. Tism, this is serious, mum. So this game is like the newest game that I've played out of all these games. Game that I only played recently. I could almost like put this as number 1 in a weird way, but my number 3 is Dark Souls. Man, this game, fuck me. Like, it
fucked you.
It
It
viscerally,
never leaves you, does it?
it
Never.
viscerally
doesn't.
stayed with me. Viscerally stayed with me. And also this game, because I played it fairly blind. I think I looked up a couple of things, but man, this game, and I got hints from you guys as well. I should be clear. So it's definitely not fully blind. What a fucking atmosphere. What a jam, man. What a fucking game. Like, it's almost not even a game. It's more than a game. It's life.
It's experience.
Yeah.
It's life.
It's
Dark
just,
Souls.
man, I totally can see both sides of the fence of like people who look at Dark Souls and Souls games and go, what the fuck's that all about? Stupid. It's over the top. But then obviously getting into it and playing and beating it, it's like you can see the other side of the fence as well. It's almost like you're fucking converted and you're like a Christian now, right? It's like, you don't get it. You have to have faith in God, right? It's just, man, what a game. And what an achievement in terms of just moving the industry forward and challenging assumptions. And, you know, I remember even chatting to you, Swinny, because I wasn't playing games at the time when this game came out, right? And this game is almost like the answer to everything that I had a problem with games. Because at the time, games were like so fucking easy. It was just like, mash the button and you'll beat the game. Just like the way their stories are presented, I hated with a passion. And it's funny because this game is pretty much all the things that to me push against that. You know, like very, like I couldn't even imagine playing this when it came out in 2011, where it's like, where do you even get information? Like you can go online, but
Didn't.
it's just not the same as it is now, where like you've got YouTube guides to every bit of the game, right? If you ever get stuck on anything, right? And
It was a wild time.
Yeah.
It was, but that was
Day
the
one,
beauty of it. That
Dark
was the
Souls.
beauty of playing it day one. That you had no freaking idea. You'd run into somewhere and you had no idea what's going on.
And I'm really glad that I got to play this game. You guys forced me to play it, and it was well worth it. And then, like, I experienced, I think, some element of that stuff with like playing Elden Ring, because that's like the first time that this type of formula is moving to open world, so it's like a new thing as well. But yeah, man, this game, like the thing that I haven't played through all the rest of the Souls games, but I do think for me personally, because I love the design of the almost puzzle box world and how it all like links together, and because I don't follow memes or like much stuff on video game chat, like a lot of the stuff that happens in the game I didn't know about. Like some of the, you know, the roadblock bosses and like some of the worlds that you go to and all that stuff. Like when it actually happened, I was like, what the fuck? Like, I thought I was in this world. Like, where am I? Like, what the fuck is this? And just the foreboding and the sense of dread and like the dynamic of the
Music's
game
so
fundamentally and the lore. And it's one of the few games I'll like read through a bit of like the lore and just, you know, the environmental storytelling. It's just such a fucking cool game. And like, honestly, a game I think about all the time in terms of like, just maybe I'll fire that game up again and start playing it.
Yeah, it is. It's the kind of game that we played it every year or two.
Yeah,
And you can replay it. And you can choose a different class. You can spec differently, although there are all-time favorites. And yeah,
and if I sort of was like, you know, similar to your point about Metal Gear Solid 3, Swinny, it's like if I could just say like this is the greatest game, like, and not my personal almost, I'd probably put it as number one because it's just such like a cool game on so many dimensions. So Mike, what is your number 3? We're in the heavy hitters and still no repeats to this point. Jesus.
Yeah, my number 3 is Dark Souls.
Is it actually?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
As he says that.
That's awesome.
I was waiting for that. So look, I'm just echoing his thoughts. I love the game to bits. The world building, the way the level design snakes around, the way it defied. Well, you know, you could argue that Demon Souls kind of created the genre in some ways. And,
Yeah. Well, not fully, right?
No. Yes, it was really. It was the definitive game to me in the genre. So, I don't know what else to say other than amazing freaking game. I'm the same. It could probably be number 1, and I was debating whether it should be number 1, but rock solid game.
Nice.
Dark Souls.
Rock solid game. That's when they re-release it. They're gonna have Mike from Big Wing Pod. Rock solid game, boys.
All right. Well, my number 3. Look, up to this
Dark
point,
Souls.
you could look up. You could look at my list, and you could see a lot of those games are going to fall in a lot of people's top 10s and stuff. Right? This game is not going to fall in a lot of people's top 10s, but it is so special to me, which is Tales of Vesperia.
Not surprised.
3 separate versions in my hands right now, including the 360 US version, the definitive edition, the European version. I've beaten this game 100% 4 separate times, which means basically about 8 to 9 playthroughs. I've put hundreds of hours into Tales of Vesperia. In my opinion, it is the greatest JRPG ever made. It is so chock full of stuff. The characters are awesome. The story's awesome. It looks great even to this day. The reason I think why this game isn't as appreciated as it could be is because it originally launched as a 360 exclusive JRPG, right? And when it released on PS3 later, it was only released in Japan. So a lot of the wider JRPG-loving audience didn't get a chance to play Vesperia until a lot longer after. And now you're starting to see a lot more people really appreciate what Vesperia was doing. And it has, in my opinion, the greatest RPG main character ever in Yuri. Just the character arc and, like, the game is full of tropes, right? But the main character is one of the best written JRPG main characters I've ever had in a game. The voice acting is great. Tales of Vesperia, hands down, is one of my top 3 games of all time.
And can I, well, your third, can I just like, you know, frame something up though? Because like you saying it's the greatest RPG of all time, right? The weight that carries, right? Because like you could genuinely say, like if you talk about completions, finishing RPGs fully, like you might be in the top 100 in the world of doing that, right? Which is kind of insane even like, that's not even a ridiculous statement, right? So you give the context of like, this person is like, you know, one of the top 100 in the world. And they're like, out of all the fucking RPGs, this is the best one. That's a lot of weight. That's pretty
You've
interesting.
got
And it's on sale on the
multiple-
Switch, $12 at the moment. Amazing.
Awesome.
$12.
I actually do have a copy on the Switch, and after this, I am fucking looking forward to
It
playing
is the look. The first time I completed this game 100%, it took me 180 hours, and I loved every moment of it. I got a bit quicker on the subsequent 3 times I did it. But yeah, this game at God, that price for this game is just oh my god! Like
It's
it is
value? Do you reckon it's value?
fucking Christ! All right,
Your number 2, as we snake around. Whoa,
My number 2.
woohoo!
Come on, it's Dark Souls.
Dark Souls. Wow.
yes.
Damn, we should have had a number 3. That would have been super
My
funny.
day
Yeah, you
one
should've changed it to
lovely,
number 3,
lovely
man. Come
limited
on.
edition here.
Oh, I love that.
Dark Souls. Look, we did a whole segment on the show.
I mean,
You can
I'm
check it out
interested
on-
that you picked Dark Souls over Dark Souls 3, but yeah, okay.
Oh, Dark Souls 1 is easily my favorite
Oh, yeah,
out of all
same.
the Souls games. But look, Dark Souls is just a masterpiece. What can I say? We just spoke a lot about it, but it's not perfect, but it's nearly perfect. So it's great game.
Wow.
That's all I was say. Dark Souls, fuck.
I'm kind of interested in what your number 1 game is now. I mean, this is why we're
solid.
doing this, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. All right, number 2, Mike.
It is. Now, this is where it gets really tough. And I know I started the conversation by saying they're not in order, but fuck oath, they've become in order after this. So it's getting really difficult to order the last 2.
I think for you, I know one of the 2 games, and I think I know what your number 1
now.
is, but yeah, go on.
Yeah.
I think I
Actually,
probably know both.
You know both. Okay, I don't think I know the
of
other
course,
one.
it's Sextras. Number 1, Sextras.
We also spoke about that before you came on.
No, it is a notable mention, though, for numerous non-jerky reasons. I said non-jerky, not non-jerky reasons. So, number 2 is, and this is a tough one, Mass Effect.
Mass Effect.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I got this wrong. Okay, cool.
Again, the original Mass Effect.
Yeah, okay.
Now, as Winnie
Interesting.
alluded to, number 2 definitely improved on the formula in many ways. It was definitely more action-based. I think the combat, you could argue, was better. Less RPG elements, though. They stripped that down quite a lot, which pros and cons to that. Number 3 was way refined, but nothing beats the experience I had of having the 360 and playing the original Mass Effect. It was just the sheer the way it sort of captured your imagination and made you think about the possibilities out there in this vast universe that we have. I actually still get really sentimental when I hear the intro music anywhere. Like if I hear, sometimes you hear it on certain YouTube channels or something, and I get super sentimental just hearing that music, just the impact that it's had and the awe and the I'm lost for words, to be honest. I just love that game to bits. I tried to play it more recently, and admittedly, it doesn't feel like it quite stood the test of time in certain ways. It did in others, but nothing will change the fact that it's just a fond memory that I have of that particular experience. That, yeah, I love that game.
Nice, very nice. Well, we are fully rounding it out, boys. We're
Ooh,
getting
yeah.
into the home stretch. We're gonna snake around the corner, so we're gonna get to number 1 in here as well. This was, out of all the games, the hardest choice for me to make. And I was gonna be a dickhead. I'll be straight up. I was gonna be a dickhead and do this and go equal. Like, oh shit, I can't do an equal sign. Because, I was even gonna reference that last week's show. You both said, oh no, you can have an equal sign and still have a top 10 effectively. Right? So I was like gonna be an asshole and put 2 games into my number 2 spot.
Oh, so he's allowed to do that, but
I
I'm not
didn't.
allowed to not have it.
I didn't. I made the hard choice. I made the fucking hard choice. And my second, and I feel very conflicted about doing this actually. My second favorite game of all time is Breath of the Wild. Now, it was so close between Ocarina of Time. And honestly, Link to the Past is like up there as well. And I think if I actually just did the games purely, Ocarina of Time and Link to the Past will both be in the top 10 and bump out other games, which is kind of like a bit crazy to me.
I think I know what your number 1 is. I'm just excited.
Well,
to
yeah, I
see
think
if
it's pretty
got it right.
obvious.
I
think I've said it 100 times as well.
Animal Crossing.
Yeah, exactly. But Breath of the Wild, like the thing is, like I have to put it there because it does have a lot of the inspiration of all the series in it, and it does it in such a way that it's not at all like the way that Star Wars brings back its nostalgia, where it's so in your fucking face and it's like, oh, that's the guy in the member berries and all this kind of shit. It's just very accented in the game. Like, you really have to be focusing in and go, wait a second, this setting is the exact same setting as Ocarina of Time. It's like, wow, that's kind of cool. Like, but they don't make a big deal about it. And just Breath of the Wild to me is like the game that got me back into playing games. And man, I played like
The gateway game.
200 something hours of Breath of the Wild. I loved every second of it. And it's such a weird game for me because like I viscerally can remember, I'm like in the moment of like when I finished the game, because I got so close to the end. I'm like, oh, I guess I'll finish it. And then I started playing it. And then I actually went to my bed and I was playing it. And I'm like, oh man, it feels like I've lost something because I can never experience this again. Like, of playing it to the end. And I'm like, oh shit. And even to this day, I like, because I've gone really crazy with Breath of the Wild, collecting everything in it, right? There's one part of the game that I haven't finished, and it's like, it's almost like I'm leaving it there, right? Because it's like, I want to have in my head that there's something I haven't done in that game, so I can go back to it and finish it. Because I know once I do it, then it's like, there's nothing else to do in the game. And it's like, there's nothing new and nothing like undiscovered. Man, I love that game so much. There's so much cool shit that you can do in the game, the engine. And like the cool thing about it is like, and I'm so looking forward to Tears of the Kingdom. Like, there is so much more you could do. It's not a perfect game. I'm not going to say it's a perfect game. It's not a perfect game at all, right? And it's exciting to me, like, that you could use that as a foundation, do more. But fuck, I love that game so much.
Swinny, what are your thoughts on that game?
It's a good game.
It's alright.
Not a well-loved game on this podcast, but
I
very well-loved
loved
game
the
by other people. Very
I actually
well-loved game
really
by other
enjoyed the
people.
game. I got super far into it, never finished it, but I really enjoyed the game.
And we've moved from not having any double ups to mostly only double ups now. My number one game, it's been my number one game for like almost ever, is Super Metroid. This is a perfect game. To me, you know, I wouldn't change anything about this game. I love this game. I love like there's parts of the game that, you know, still to this day, people go, I don't get that. How do you work through that puzzle or whatever? But there's a lot of environmental storytelling in this game. And there's lots of parts in the game that try to reinforce, you know, some of the puzzles like that occur in the game. And fuck, this game is amazing. Like, I've beaten this game so many times. And yet, every time it feels fresh and it just feels like there's just so much this the game establishes. Like, the ability to, like, and I don't know how intentional it is, but, you know, Swinny, like how you can skip certain segments and jump ahead and, you know, break the game a bit and just like, you know, in spoiler territory minimally, like save the animals, don't save the animals, like all this like weird shit that they've introduced in this game that, why did they do this, right? And it's just so cool. And there's like kind of almost hidden mechanics in the game that they barely tell you, but I love the way they do it. And it's almost like Dark Souls-esque, you know, just in terms of like, you've got to connect the dots. But at the same time, you can play the game just straight up, like, and forget all that stuff. And fuck, to me, it's just like such the perfect game. I love it so much. Doesn't overstay its welcome. And yeah, I just love it. And I love the series as well. Like, Zero Mission is right up there for me as well. Like, Zero Mission would be almost like a top 10 game for me as well. Like, if I forgot about my rule of just having one game in a series. But yeah, I love it. And Mike, I'm fascinated to know what your number one is. I actually don't know what it will be.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you'd
Really?
know. I thought you would.
Well, I'll probably know once you tell me, and I'll be like, oh, okay, yeah.
What do you think it starts with?
No, I don't know. I said I have no idea.
Okay, it's Fallout.
Oh, okay, yeah. Fallout, yeah.
The OG Fallout. Again, number 2, amazing game, improved on it. Although number 2 kind of felt very similar, to the extent that there's certain parts that I still mix in my head between 1 and 2. But I just love number 1 to bits. I actually love the transition to 3D. I know it was a little controversial at the time to some people, the fact that it moved from 2D sprite-based isometric gameplay to full 3D, but I love Fallout 3 as well. Never finished number 4, unfortunately, but finished New Vegas, loved number 3 to bits, probably my second favorite in the series. But the original Fallout was just freaking phenomenal. And it still got that the artwork and the style that is timeless. You could play the game right now, and the game still plays and still looks amazing. It's few games that I think after all these years can actually retain that level of excellence.
And can you
So-
play it on Xbox Game Pass? I think you can, right?
Yes, it's part of the PC ones from
Yeah,
memory.
cool.
The Fallout games are.
That's awesome.
It's just again, it's a shame from what I remember reading that they don't have the original source code anymore. So that's why
Yeah.
you don't see it on something like the Switch, which would be a perfect place to play a game like that. And unfortunately, I don't think we'll ever see that. It's also the kind of game that I don't think it's not going to have a remake or a remaster in that sense. It's just not the same thing, and I would love to see more of those games, which is why it's games like Pillars of Eternity. I love the fact that they've refreshed that. There is a I think it's called Atom RPG, which is sort of a modern take on that thing, but nothing beats the original in the fact that you could still play it today and it still stands the test of time. It's still an amazing game.
Nice. Awesome.
All right, so I've got the privilege of saying the last game.
yeah.
And I'm holding a Super Nintendo cartridge in my hand right now.
Hmm.
And I'm going to reveal that John Madden Football 93 is my number one game. Actually, that is a joke. I just noticed it says EA like 3 times in different spots on this small sticker.
Does it have the old school EA like polygonal?
So
logo?
it's got the old,
that
one's
was
an
such
EA
a cool
Sports logo, so that's fair enough.
Ah,
but
yeah.
then there's 2 separate Electronic Arts.
Wow.
That's
logos.
Do you remember?
No.
Was that in the era where it said EA? It's in the game.
EA Sports. It's in the game.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, definitely had that. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. No, my number one game of all time. It's taken its number one spot back from
Taken?
the past. Is a game that I'm also holding in my hand called Legend of Zelda.
Look, I had it ready to paste. I had it ready to paste.
Yeah, you already had it ready to paste.
love that.
And this is the box that young Swinny opened on Christmas Day, because it came out before Christmas Day, but I wasn't allowed to play it. But I was allowed to read the manual. So I had
Yeah.
the manual for however many weeks or whatever it was, or days before I could play it. And it's probably my most fondest gaming memory of all time, just playing this game for the first time. Ocarina of Time is just so... It's like magical. Like, that's
Yeah.
a word. I can't think of anything but that word. And I've played through it so many times. I had never played the 3DS version. I still want to. I haven't played it in years, so I think it's due for a replay. And I know it's going to be, oh man, I've got to get used to this camera and stuff like that. But it was just something special. And I think there's a reason why a lot of people still have Ocarina of Time as number one, because of how magical it was. So... and it used to share Deus Ex and Ocarina of Time used to vie
Bounce
for that
back,
number
yeah.
one spot, but I think Ocarina of Time takes it. So
I gotta
as
say,
time goes,
like to me, it's probably my second, like it's really close second, like fondest memory of gaming. So that's why it was so hard to not have it on the list. I had it 10th for ages. Not that I think it's the 10th favorite game, because it's probably ahead of Dark Souls for me. So it's a bit of a weird list that I have. But yeah, I remember running home after getting it, like at Kmart or Target or whatever. Like, and I was, you know where I live, right, Swinny? And I ran home from that, like, you know, complex. So like,
was
I'm not a runner, and I was just like, I gotta play this. Like, I was so excited, and it just like, man, this game, like in a way, I think lived up to the hype even more than Mario 64. Like, and that's saying something, man. Like when I played this game, and just like the depth of it and all the stuff you can do in it, and the mechanic, the time travel mechanic. It's just fucking amazing, man.
like this manual that I'm holding up, and I used to
So cool.
study this
Yeah.
fucking manual, man. I could not put it down. Man,
The only literally, do you know the literal difference of why? And I had it back and forth. I had a version of this where Ocarina of Time was number 2, and like the only thing is, I played Ocarina of Time recently, and it compared to Super Mario 64, which I feel like you play that and it's fucking really cool, right? Ocarina of Time, there's something about it that just like it's more of its era. than 64 is, like Mario 64 is to me. Not saying it's bad at all. It's just like, it's like watching an old school movie that is very, like, extremely slowly paced, right? Like, there's a lot of, like, movies are much faster paced now. The edits are a lot quicker. But, like, some movies, even for them back in the day, were slow paced, right? And it's almost like a shock to the system. And I had a little bit of that with Ocarina of Time. I'm like, okay, I just got to, like, push it and then I'll get through. And then, like, I enjoyed it, obviously. But, fuck, what an amazing game that game is. And it, like, one thing I will say, Swinny, is, to me, it's more of the classic Zelda. Like, it's the quintessential classic Zelda for me, Ocarina of Time. In terms of, like, the pseudo Metroidvania mechanic of, like, you're getting tools and then you can beat other, castles and bosses and stuff like that. But yeah, what a fucking game. What a fucking ripper. I love that game.
What's the best platform to play it on now?
I think
Someone
actually
that's-
now, honestly, the Switch Online, like they've fixed up the emulation and stuff like that. It's probably the best way to play. It's the
What about the
easiest way to play.
3DS one? Is that good?
There's like, this is getting super into weeds, but they've done some changes to more Majora's Mask. But even with Ocarina of Time, they changed a few things, and it's kind of like you need to almost patch it if you're really like that obsessed about it. I genuinely think the Switch Online is the best way to play it now. Like they've fixed the emulation for it. One thing I just want to quickly say is like a few honorable mentions because I was going to do it during the thing and I've kind of neglected to. I had Picross 3D on there for me is like one of the games that was right up there. It was pretty close to being on the list. I had Portal. Like Portal was going in and out. But I'm glad where I landed. Tetris. And the one that like I really wanted to put on the list, but just 10 is not enough numbers is Trials HD.
Yeah,
like,
I was
wanna
thinking
put
about
Trials.
that when you were talking about Rocket League.
Fuck, I really want to put Trials on there, but it's just like literally I'm taking out like Doom, Galaga. But like it's just like I couldn't do it in the end.
Stuff that just missed the cut for me. Final Fantasy VI.
What a jam.
Terranigma.
Oh, I had Terranigma up there as well, yeah. Fuck.
Half-Life 2.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
Majora's Mask. So they kind of like made up like the 10 to 15 along with Tekken 3 that I mentioned earlier. So
Yeah. How about you,
I
Mike?
had-
Anything that was close?
Yeah, so I had The Sims. I loved The Sims back in
I had
the day. Oh my
SimCity,
gosh, it was
like, high on the
sick.
list, yeah.
I had SimCity as well. Dude, like my list, I think it was like you. I actually thought of hundreds of different games.
Yeah,
Easily
yeah.
hundreds. And it was so hard to actually put it down. Virtua Tennis.
Oh, yeah.
I love that game for many reasons. Guitar Hero, just because of the experience.
Yeah, I had Guitar Hero high up there, honestly, as well.
And the innovation and just the memories of having it. Battlefield 1942 was one of them. Of course, Sextras for many different reasons. It's funny because I'm looking at these things and I do wonder if a psychologist was to look at these lists and go, okay, what can I learn about this person based on these 10 games that they've enjoyed? What impact have these games had on their life? And
They're all
what
good
can I
lists.
gather
They're all
from
good
this?
lists.
They're good, but it makes you wonder, like, okay, interesting, okay. And
they'd be like,
Fez.
fuck, these guys love Dark Souls.
Yeah, they love Dark Souls, these weirdos.
Yeah, that's hey, like that's one. We should talk about some of the features of the list, right? That were there any other games on the list that missed for you, Mike? Sorry, before we.
No, maybe just the one that for some reason keeps coming back to mind is Fez, and I don't know why.
Oh yeah,
I
you
just,
love that game, yeah.
I just love that game. I don't know
So,
why. I love
Dark
the music, I love
Souls-
the character.
Dark Souls is the only game that's on everyone's list.
Yeah, I think it is. You're right. There
So,
you go. Which
you
means
know,
it's technically the winner of the winners.
Definitively the
It's
greatest.
definitely the greatest game.
Dark Souls, Mass Effect, and Super Metroid are all the ones that had multiples. So
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, not too many multiples, mate. Like even
No,
though we had some
interestingly
multiples in the end, it wasn't that many.
And you can definitely tell that you guys are more Nintendo centric because you had access to those consoles. And
Yeah,
that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Whereas I never did, unfortunately. And I legit say unfortunately because I wish I got to play some of those games when they came out. And you can kind of look at my list and it's definitely more PC centric, I think.
Yeah, yours is definitely more PC centric. I'm actually kind of amazed that Swinny and my lists aren't more Nintendo based. Like, I think Swinny, you've got like 3 Nintendo games. Oh no, four,
Well,
and
I
I've got
think
4
it's-
as well.
I think it's because you guys, I think there's people who are super nostalgic about certain things, and then I think you guys acknowledge that, hey, a good game comes out more recently, and you fucking love the game, and it deserves to be. Like, Breath of the Wild isn't that old, right? Dark Souls isn't really that old, and especially you played it way more recently compared to when it came out, and the fact that it's not just you have completely rose tinted glasses that it's got to be an old school game. No, it's like if it's a good game, it could have come out yesterday, and it's a fucking amazing game.
That is actually also an interesting feature of the list. 2017 is the latest game, right? Like,
You're
Breath
telling
of
me
the
nothing
Wild.
good came since then?
The last 5 years are all good
Damn.
games. One quick question, and then I'm going to run through the list just for audio listeners. Any games that you think will threaten to get in the top 10?
Oh, okay.
So let's say in the last 5 years. So after Breath of the Wild, I guess.
I don't know. That's a.
Good question, right?
I'm just trying to think of what games are on the horizon that even have a chance. Like,
Well, so no games. You wouldn't say any games.
Well, I think it's
Like
down to
Elden Ring.
it's just
No,
the
no.
impact. It's the probably not even Elden Ring, to be honest. I think I enjoyed it and it was Game of the Year, but it wasn't Dark Souls
Yeah.
in terms
if
of the
they
impact.
remaster Vesperia again.
Like that would do it.
No, look, yeah, maybe like if they remade Final Fantasy VI in like the HD
yeah.
2D, then that might, maybe that'll
Actually,
creep back up.
imagine a Final Fantasy VI as a remake like they've done with Final Fantasy VII, like a full-blown 3D remake. That would be fun, because I think Final Fantasy VI's story, and you know how critical I am of stories in games? I love the story in that game. I love the setting and everything. That would be really cool.
Would it top the? I don't know, because I feel like for better or worse, I do have a level of nostalgia in this, but not so much. Okay, I don't even know how to describe it. There's certain things that you do at certain times in your life that you can never replicate. You get one chance to have that particular experience, and that's kind of it. Because once you have that experience, you cannot have it again. And I think it's like that with gaming to some degree. I think your brain and the memories it builds based on heaps of other games and experiences that it has, I do suspect that you might get to a certain time in your life where it's just there's nothing that can technically beat it. Like if you really sat down and thought about it, you just can't have that same impact that. But I'm saying that now. I don't know. It's the only reason why I would say like I don't have anything in here. Like a lot of these games, the latest on this list is probably The Witcher that I had on mine, which is 2015. And it's not that I didn't enjoy games since 2015. It's just that
impact and stuff.
They just haven't had that kind of impact in my life.
Yeah,
because I'm a different person now, and I kind of don't have that. I don't absorb. My brain doesn't absorb the games the same way that it did. I look at the stories. I'm like, that's pretty cool, but I've seen that before, or I'm not. It's not that interesting, or something.
Yeah, I think like with Super Mario Odyssey, to me, I feel like you could almost just argue it's better than any of the other Mario games. And then Mario Kart 8 Deluxe versus DS, like it's more nostalgia for me as well. So
yeah, I think Odyssey is the best Mario game, but it's not my favorite.
So Odyssey's amazing. Odyssey's like it's worthy to be on top 10 for sure. It's like I actually genuinely think Odysseys are underrated because it came out in the year when Breath of the Wild did. Like. It's there. What a wild game that is. All right, I'm going to quickly just run through the list for audio listeners. So my list was starting from 1, Super Metroid, Breath of the Wild, Dark Souls, Rocket League, Super Mario Bros. 3, Mario Kart DS, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Doom, Galaga, and Metal Gear Solid. For Mike, starting from number 1, Fallout, Mass Effect, Dark Souls, Ultimate 8, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, Duke Nukem 3D, Final Fantasy 7, Diablo, The Witcher 3, and Need for Speed 2. And then finally, Swinny, starting from number 1, Ocarina of Time, Dark Souls, Tales of Vesperia, Metal Gear Solid 3, Deus Ex, Super Metroid, Yoshi's Island, Final Fantasy 9, Super Mario 64, and Mass Effect. I think traditionally speaking, Swinny's is probably like the strongest list. Like
mine is the most like
generic,
basic
almost.
bitch mainstream list, other than Vesperia.
Apart from Tales. Like at least Mike and I, like there's a few fucking games on there that like never. I don't think that would be on a mainstream top 10 list.
I wonder what Ultima even got on Metacritic. I'm gonna look it up. It's probably shit.
All right, boys. Wrapping up the show. What's on for next week?
Segment.
Well, so I still got the bush. I've still got the big douche thing on you both.
Oh, thanks.
So next week we've got the Christmas stuff. We've got the Christmas stuff going on next week.
Are we?
Well, it has to be, right? I don't think we can do it. I don't think we're doing the
We're
show
gonna play
next
Christmas
Sunday
games.
because it's Christmas. It's actually Christmas.
We'll
next
figure it out.
Sunday.
We'll figure it
Yeah.
out. I'm going to be playing some Vampire Survivors next week.
Are you playing the
Hey.
DLC?
Yeah, it's the like.
Why is it so cheap? What's this guy doing?
And it's like this massive map that is
Yeah.
like there's different areas, so it's different to what they've done. Like I'm super
Wow.
excited to try it. I just really want to just finish Yakuza. So
No, fair enough. Fair enough. And you, Mike, got anything planned?
For Christmas, a couple of things, but gaming-wise, think I'm just gonna keep smashing The Witcher. I'm supposed to finish it by the end of the year, right? To do one of the resolutions. I highly doubt it's gonna happen.
How far
I
are
keep
you
getting
into the
this-
main quest?
Dude, I am on Skellige Island. Well, Skellige Isles. And I don't know how far. Probably only about 3 quests into the main quest line in that area. So I don't know. I think there's quite a lot left. The problem is like I could probably just rush through that, which is what I might do, just to finish it and say I finished it. But it's really hard, and I don't know if it counts because the DLCs I kind of wanted to also finish. But I feel like that's probably what's going to happen. I'm going to go through, finish the main story, because then I'm assuming, Swinny, you can just go do the side stuff whenever you want, right?
Man,
There's
I love that part of the game that you're at the moment, like
It's really
Skellige
cool.
and everything. I just love the
it's-
vibe of that place.
Yes, and it looks so beautiful with
Yeah,
the latest updates. I finally actually it's rare that you install a game, especially a game that came out 2015, like 7 years ago now, and you can still pause it and go, wow, this looks cool. I haven't really had that experience in a little while. Most games look amazing nowadays. There's quite a few that do, but I rarely now take a look back and go, wow, that looks incredible. Like I remember in Mass Effect 1, I had a lot of those moments. Mass Effect 2, in Illyrium, I think it was called. I forget the one of the. There was so many parts where I just stopped for like an hour just to just look at the landscape.
See, for me, I like to play Vampire Survivors and just pause the game and just stare at the pixelated
How ugly it is.
vomit all over the
Ooh,
screen.
baby.
That game feels like it's getting so much more hype, like every day. It's crazy, man.
I know,
It's taking
I know.
off. I hope that guy, because it's one guy, right?
It's more than one guy now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I think
but
it
one
started
guy
off
who
with
started it, right?
Yeah.
Hope he gets paid a bucket-load, man. Like,
I'm
if
sure
he
he
doesn't
will.
make a monster, that'd be a shame. All right, well, we'll sort out what we're doing next week. We do have to do the wrap-up by the end of the year. Big. Well, we're gonna do our own like top 10 of, or like whatever. Of
That'll
22, right?
be the episode after Christmas. So whatever day that lands on, if we do it on New Year's or we don't or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll be our big year in awards, the third
awesome.
special. So
Yeah, and then I'll be wrapping up, and then I'll be watching you guys. I'll be in the chat, like abusing you two, as you continue the show. And pity help you, Swinny. Pity help you. All right,
Okey-dokey.
that's it. All right.